What's up, world? This is Real Talk about real business, a podcast featuring a different guest each episode. Join me as we are given the opportunity to hear their story, the battles they face, the obstacles they've overcome, the losses they've incurred, the lessons they've learned, the memories they've made, the lives they've touched, the wins they've had, the opportunities yet to present themselves. Who am I? My name is Mason, and for the past decade, I've been grinding and hustling on a level you would understand. I've sold everything, from candy bars to big screens. I own the #1 electronics store in Las Vegas called Best Deal in Town. It's been my primary focus and my pride and joy for the last 6 years. It's given me opportunities I never would have thought it was possible. It's introduced me to people I never thought I would know. I don't have all the answers. In fact, I have very, very few. But what I do have are a ton of questions. And that's my story. Join me as we talk with real people who have really done it, with real hardships and real success. Despite all the odds, despite all the naysayers, all the constant negativity, and the ever-mounting uncertainty that we are faced with every single day. This is their story on Real Talk. Yo, what is up, world? It is Mason with Business Breakdown. We got another episode of Real Talk for you today. Today we are joined by my good friend, a card-holding member of the International Bodybuilding Federation. I think I'm saying that right. He's a professional bodybuilder. He is one of the top fitness coaches in the industry. Everything from diet and exercise. He is a guy who has one of the best physiques I know and one of the strongest bodies, but probably even a stronger mindset, which is what I believe is his driving force underneath all of this. Today, I want to present to you guys, we have Brandon Robichaux with us. Brandon, thanks for coming on, man.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. So, you know, I introed you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background, kind of, and where you're at today in your current endeavors in life.
Gotcha, man. So, you know, I've been coaching since basically 2013. It's my passion. You know, I've kind of, come from an area where, you know, you're really not expected to do a whole lot. You know, living in Alaska, being an athlete in Alaska.
Is that where you're born and raised? Or?
Well, I grew up there.
Okay,
born in Louisiana, but raised, in Alaska. Looking back at, if you knew me back then, you probably would have never expected that I would be right here where I am today. Like, there's no way. I was never expected to be any kind of an athlete, be a bodybuilder for that matter. I mean, like, when you look at me, do you think that I probably, let's say my senior year in high school, I wrestled 119 pounds.
Oh,
I was
wow.
a really little guy.
Wow.
My freshman year, I came in, I was 92 pounds.
Ooh. So, wow. I would never guess. Yeah,
I was a really, really small guy. I've always been in athletics. Athletics has been something I've always been involved in. And I'm super competitive. And I think, maybe, I'm not like a super short guy, but I think, being small growing up, you kind of have that, like, the little man syndrome,
Sure,
where you kind of have a chip on your shoulder. So, growing up, I always kind of had a chip on my shoulder, like, I'm going to show people, like, what I can really do,
So is that where your passion for bodybuilding came from, or how did you what led you down that road? Because as being such a small athletic guy to going, well, like I would think you'd maybe want to be a runner or a bike rider or something, not like let me double my body size.
Well, I think growing up, I wrestled in high school.
Okay.
And when you're a wrestler, like, the idea of being someone who can overpower people or being strong, being built is kind of what you're going for. But again, I was such a small kid, my senior year, like I said, I wrestled 119 pounds. I was very, very small. I didn't have a lot of muscle. I was more like lanky than anything, you know. But when I got out of high school, you know, I really didn't know what I was going to do, you know, and I didn't really get started in the gym until I was about 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
And when I finally got into the gym, and that became something that I loved doing, and I started learning about lifting, I still didn't really understand what I know today, or even what I knew, you know, 5 years ago. Okay. So, but I mean, like, what got me into the whole bodybuilding realm, and, you know, it's kind of an old adage, but like, breakups make the best bodybuilders. So I went through a real bad breakup.
I did not know that was an adage. I'm not in the bodybuilding world, so. Well, but hey, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like most people, like, you know, not to call out the women, but I swear, like, every time a girl goes through a breakup, she changes her hair, she gets a tattoo or whatever, right? Guys just go get built, you know, and
Sure.
and that's kind of what I did. As I was like, I went through a breakup, and I was like, what am I gonna do? I want to do something different. I want to do something extreme.
Lifestyle change.
I did get a tattoo, but I ended up going to a bodybuilding show, and I was even considering like MMA. You know, MMA was something that I thought of potentially doing because I enjoy fighting. I enjoy I miss the aspect of wrestling. I miss wrestling practice and going getting beat up or beating up dudes. It's part of that's fun, you know.
Yeah. There's that primalness to it.
Yeah, you know, and it's like a manly thing, you know. It's like whatever, you know. But I went to a bodybuilding show, and I saw these guys on stage in board shorts, and I went, I can do that. I think I could do that, you know. And I got my butt kicked the first time out there. I mean,
so when did you do your first show? How old were you?
I was. So it's funny. I started competing when I was 32.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was, you know, far older than the average person getting into bodybuilding. Right. Especially nowadays, you got kids getting it at 18 years old, 19 years old. But the guys that are killing it in the IFBB now, they're 30 plus. You know, they're all 30 and up. I mean, you have some young guys as well. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of guys that are 30 and up, you know, you just had a little bit more muscle maturity, or you have more time in the game. But yeah, I was 32 years old and way behind the eight ball.
Right, yeah.
Way behind the eight ball. And I mean, I remember when I started competing, I made a lot of good friends, and, you know, initially, and we all became really tight. We had our little wrestling group, you know, and not wrestling group, but I lost train of thought. Our little bodybuilding group.
Yeah.
And so basically we worked out together on Saturdays. We always stayed in conversations. Like, whenever one of us was competing, we were all there to watch each other. It's funny, I'm the only guy left that's still in bodybuilding and that competes. Like, everybody else has kind of moved on with their life, but I've turned this into, you know, what I do with my hobbies, my business. It's my
life.
Yeah,
right?
It's my life. You know?
It has to be, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, to a certain extent. So you started competing when you were 32. Mm-hmm. Now, to get your pro status, you have to compete in some sort of like an IFBB sanctioned event and win it, or how does that process work? So
the way it works is you know, you'll do some local shows. Okay, you'll place. I think back then, you had to place top 2 or top 3 or something like that. I don't remember, but I want to say it was like top 2. I had won the last 2 shows as an amateur, and then I was qualified. So the cool thing about when you qualify, let's say, you know, I qualified in 2014. I was qualified to go to nationals for 2014 and 2015. So
that's cool.
I did a show in 2015 in Sacramento. I flew down from Alaska. I took second out there in my class, and I qualified again. So technically, I was qualified for 2015 and 2016. But I ended up taking some time to just work on the craft and grow a little bit more. From that show, the only reason I lost is size. I needed more size. You know, I just was smaller than the guy that beat me.
Great.
I took some time off, like I said, grew, went to nationals, ended up taking 5th in the open, and I placed 3rd in masters. Back then, masters was 35 and up. So I was at this time I was 35 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
how old are you right now, if you don't mind me asking for a frame reference?
40.
Dude looks, if you're not watching this and you're listening to this, he looks like he's 27. He looks younger than me, I swear.
So 40 years old now, but so I was 35 at that time, and I mean that was probably one of my most memorable shows because I competed with some pretty tough dudes, and to go into the open class and place fifth in that class, I mean, it's funny because I remember I was one of the first guys brought on stage, and so what happens is they bring you on for your individual, routine, and then they'll bring you on for comparisons. So, and it's all alphabetical order. So they bring you on for your comparisons, and then after bringing you on for comparisons, they toss you off to the side, and you're sitting there on the side, basically waiting for the judges to bring out the first call out. And first call out is the best 5 guys that they like usually.
The people they want to take a second look at. So everyone does kind of a pass through, and they're like, we want to see these guys come through again.
Well, when I say call outs, what happens? Like, let's say you got 30 guys in the class, right?
Okay.
I think at the time we had it was 38 guys. I want to say there were 38 guys in that class, and so the first call out, they'll bring out anywhere between 5 and 8 guys. Okay. Now those are in the judge's mind, probably the top 8 dudes. But they're going to go through that comparison right there to see who they like the most. So they're going to move you around and do whatever. And it's funny because when they started calling the first call outs, I was the first number called out, and I was like, oh crap. But I remember standing there, and I'm behind everybody, thinking to myself, like, I'm going to be here forever. Because first of all, this wasn't my first national competition. My first national competition was in 2014. After I had won a show in Alaska, and I got my butt kicked. I mean, I got last call outs. It was in Miami. It was a terrible experience, but also a really great experience because the loss.
You got to get beat up to learn how to win a fight, right?
When guys come out and say, because I get clients that reach out to me all the time, like I want to when I step on stage, I want to smash everybody, and I'm like, this isn't like boxing or MMA. It's not basketball. You can't shoot the winning shot. There's not a magical special pose that you can do last minute on stage and all of a sudden the judges are like, well, that's it, he wins.
Yeah, like
doesn't work that way. Yeah. So as good as I thought I was back then, I got my butt kicked, but it was the best thing for me because I saw what I needed to do to improve and get better. So anyways, when I went to nationals in 2016 in New Jersey, that was such a memorable show for me because I went from being a last call-out guy in a national competition to a first call-out guy.
Was that your next major competition?
Yeah.
So you went from bottom to top.
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it was a really good experience, and then 2 weeks later, I was in Pittsburgh and got my pro card there, and I ended up winning my class, which was awesome. It was. Again, super memorable, great time.
I literally got the chills while you told that story because I was like I can imagine just like finishing a competition or getting the last call out and then you're like, all right, another competition. I worked hard. Like hopefully I get middle of the pack. I move up. Hopefully I'm not last again.
I had no idea what to expect, to be honest. And when they called me, it was crazy because it just wasn't what I expected because. I'm really a very humble guy, and I've been told that I'm too humble for a long time, and I don't recognize the talent that I really have. But really and truly, what it comes down to is I really respect everybody. I mean, one of the conversations I feel like you and I had at Proto was one of the reasons why I like that gym is because you have so many walks of life in there, and everybody in there respects each other's grind.
Super cool place.
You know what I mean?
Shout out Proto.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best kept secrets in terms of gyms in Vegas by far.
Yeah.
And the owner Mike is legit,
top notch,
such a cool dude.
Yeah.
And I truly respect that. So when I was watching these guys come across stage, I was like, dude, these guys look nuts, and I'm gonna be here for a long time waiting for my number to get called. And now me getting called first, that was just because my number was at the top of the list.
But still,
so
you got called out first. Man.
So it was cool, man. It was like, holy crap, I'm in the first call out. This is amazing. These guys look insane. And
So do you walk on the stage at that point with confidence or with
both?
Shit. Oh
yeah,
shit.
Both. Okay. Honestly,
okay.
it was like, oh shit, I don't trip, don't fall. make sure you look like you own the stage. Like don't look surprised.
Not your first call out.
Yeah, exactly. So and it was funny because I still to this day, like I'm friends with some of the guys that were in that call out with me, and it's funny because, and not to bring up like a racial side of anything, but like I was the only white guy in that first call out, which was cool because the top 4 guys were all black, and the guy that took 6th was Hawaiian. And the guy that took 6th and is an Olympian now. He's amazing. His name is Stephen Cow, and he's phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
But I still joke with those guys, and I remember when I got off stage and I took my 5th place trophy, I came off stage, and they're all like huddled up together. I was like, yo, let me get in here. And they're like, oh, yeah, and I was like, hey, so since I'm like the only white dude, I feel like I should get a pro card today.
Yeah.
Because I mean, truthfully, man, like, black guys dominate the stage now. Like
I see. You see a lot of like African Americans.
Dude, they are killing it,
they're
man.
Like just genetically
Genetically, they're phenomenal, and they just look incredible.
Yeah, like the way that the light hits like some of these guys' skin, like the way they're complected. Like,
yeah.
I mean, because I imagine you got to get all tanned or you get all. Sprayed up and stuff.
Yeah, they get sprayed a little bit, right? But I've got to get sprayed quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're going for their look.
Well, not only from the tanning aspect, but from a shape and bubbly muscle, because the way that they look, they just don't get flat, even when they are flat. Like you can see when I get flat, but when they get flat, it doesn't exist almost. Like the way that they are shaped, the way the muscle bellies pop, it's impressive, you know. And I always joke. I mean, I've got a lot of friends across the IFBB, and one of my good friends that I talk to all the time, his name is Ashwin. I'll tell him, I'm like, man, I'm trying to create the best white guy, but black physique I can.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And it's man, I truly look at all those guys and I'm in awe of them, because they're just fantastic, phenomenal physiques. They look great. But you try to create the best that you can. You try not to compare yourself too much, because really and truly the sport is supposed to be you versus you. I mean, obviously, you go out there and you want to compete to win, you want to do well. But one of the things, and you asked me this, what's really what got me into this, and what it's transitioned to now is the type of inspiration I can give other people. It's not, don't get me wrong, the next time that I step on stage, if I ever step on stage again,
I hope so,
is obviously I want to win, I want to do well, right? But the goal is to always beat what you put up there last. But also, I remember one of the last show that I did, there was a guy that I beat, and the guy is amazing. He has an amazing physique, top to bottom, front, back. I mean, the dude is just lights out, and he places in a lot of shows that he does. And I was surprised I beat him. I was just on that day, and I ended up beating him. But I remember after prejudging, he was complaining about the judging and how the judges already had their top 5 picked out, and he's like you can look at the list and just pick it out. You can be like, oh, this guy for sure, this guy. I mean, because they put out the list, a few days before the show, or a week before the show, whatever it is. And he was just complaining about the judging, and I said, man, like, keep that on the low, though, man. Don't say that stuff out loud. I said, because number one, it's disrespectful to every competitor out there that you're competing against.
Sure.
You're disrespecting everybody. And number two, like, you have no idea who's watching you. Like, you inspire people that you don't even know are paying attention to you. There are people that let you know you're inspiring them and whatnot, but then there are these other people that you have no idea. And first of all, I couldn't imagine I've never complained about judging, ever. I mean, I've done 20 plus shows, and every single show besides the ones that I've won, I've had people come to me and say, you should have placed better. My answer is always a panel of judges. 5 to 9 judges were on a panel. They decided, this is what I got. It's back to work for me. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to read into it. It is what it is.
That's the mindset.
But I told this guy, I was like, man, like, if you're going to act this way, understand the people that look up to you are going to act that way too. We don't want to create a sport where it's just like, I mean, we all know politics are involved in everything that we do, but if we're going to just blame our placement on politics, we're going to become bitter about the sport. We're going to become bitter about what we do, bitter about what we love. Because if you ask 90% of guys across the sport why they do this, their answer is going to be because I love this. This is who I am. This is my life. This is what I love to do. And if you become bitter about that, you're taking something away from yourself. You're taking your passion, your love away from yourself, and that's not healthy, you know?
I like that point you made about like how you don't realize like the people that are watching you that you are inspiring. Like there's tons of people out there that will send you a DM or pat you on the back or just anything in life and be like, good job, I look up to you. But there's so many people that just like aren't looking.
Yeah.
You know, and like or that you're not paying attention to that are looking at you, you know, 100%. And you're like whether you're in the gym or like I say a lot with I have a friend who she runs a gym out of her garage. It's like a CrossFit gym basically. It's not officially affiliated.
Yeah.
But like her kids will just like randomly pick up stuff and start power cleaning and start jump roping. Like they want to do it. Like, and she doesn't ever like teach her anything. They're just around it all the time. Like, and that's not her goal is to make them exercisers or like fitness people, but they see it in like that inspiration. And you can see it on the flip side of too with parents that are don't have the best domestic relationship at home kind of thing. That kind of things rub back off on the kids and then just in business and gym life in general. So like that's a really cool thing that you like are aware that there are people that do look up to you that aren't there, and that's important to.
You think about professional athletes, you know, you got Lamar Jackson on your wall here. You know what I mean? And you know, like if you didn't know much about the guy and you watched him in an interview, you know, you would probably pay more attention to the fact that he has a giant neck than how amazing he is on the football field. The dude is a phenomenal athlete.
Right.
He's not just a quarterback, you know, but you know, his attitude, the way he approaches things, you know, like he got passed up by so many teams in the draft. And in his interview at the draft, he was like, well, they're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. You know, that right there, like, how do you not get inspired by that, right? You know, like, he's like, whatever, you know, that's I can't comment on all these other teams that passing up on me, but the Ravens, they picked me up and they're going to get a Super Bowl out of me.
So where do you continue to find that every day, you know, like that blind leadership, you know, that you have to put on every day, you know?
So the thing about bodybuilding is you're never like truly like happy. And it's kind of, it's weird because it's a double-edged sword. It's slightly unhealthy in the mindset. Bodybuilding, number one, is unhealthy, period. And what I mean by that is because what we push ourselves to do to get as lean as we do.
And you're talking about on the professional scale, not some guys doing curls at the gym.
Yeah, that's different.
You're fine. These guys are stacking mass.
Right. Yeah,
they pushing your bodies to the limit.
Some of these guys are just, I mean, obese is obese, period. I don't care how much muscle you're fat. Muscle or fat doesn't matter. You know, if you're overweight, you're overweight.
You still have a frame and a factory that has to supply that entire
100%.
thing. Yeah.
So, but again, on the other side of the coin is that, you know, we're never truly like fully content. You know, we want to keep progressing constantly. You know, it doesn't matter how big we get. We want to be bigger. It doesn't matter how shredded we get. We want to be more shredded. You know, we want to have better shape, no matter how good the shape is. You know, like it's only when we look back at pictures a year ago and we go, oh, actually pretty good. Pretty happy with that, you know? But in the moment, we're never truly content. We want to continue to progress. So that mindset is really what's taken me, like, and has overflowed in other aspects of life for me.
It seems like that, you know, any conversation I have with you, like there's that, that relentlessness that you kind of have. And that's probably a good point to kind of transition into, like, so, I mean, you got your pro card, you know what you're doing, like, got a little later start than everyone, but still got it done. You know, in a lot shorter time than I would imagine most people or any people.
It depends. I mean, how you want to look at it. I mean, there are some guys that are just so genetically gifted. They go do a couple of shows that are local, smash everybody, go to nationals and win. You know, so I mean, I think back when I started competing, maybe it happened a little bit faster than some. You know, I mean, I did do 5 local shows in Alaska my first year. On the 5th show, I won the whole show. I still don't think I looked very good when I look back at that. I mean, I definitely didn't. I mean, when you look at pictures back then compared to now, it's night and day different. Yeah. But from there, I took a whole year off, and the next show in Alaska I did, I won that one, and then went to nationals and got my ass kicked. So and it wasn't 2 years later until I got my pro card. But like I took time to really grow and get away from the stage and work on my whole look. I wouldn't say that I got my pro card super fast, but it didn't take me super long either. I didn't have to do I know some guys. One of my good buddies in the IFBB, I think he did like 8 or 9 national shows before he finally turned pro. The only way to turn pro is to do a national show, and some of those shows you have to either win your class or you've got to place top 2. And so when you think about it, I think there were a couple of shows. I can't remember when he told me, but I believe there were maybe 1 or 2 shows he took third. He missed his pro card by 1 spot. That's hard. That's happened to me.
Yeah.
Where you miss your card by 1 placement. That's like, oh man.
Do you know who Greg Doucette is?
Yeah.
So I think he did like 80 something shows or something before he finally won one.
Yeah.
Which I was like,
I always tell guys nowadays, like, do as many amateur shows as you can. Enjoy the amateur side. Don't be in such a hurry to turn pro, because once you turn pro, like, your likelihood of winning a show, like, the percentage has gone down like a lot.
Because you can never compete like an amateur show again, right?
Ever.
And you probably wouldn't want to.
No, I mean, I wouldn't want to. I enjoy the pro side. There is that aspect of knowing that every single time you show up to a show, there are at least 15 home run hitters.
It's mother effing game time. Every game.
100%. Yeah. You can't show up off. You know what I mean? And it's hard to show up 100% on. It really is. When guys are like, "Oh, this is my best package," it's like, well, it really isn't. Right. Your best package was over here. And just because you show up at your best package doesn't mean that you're going to do well. I mean, I've beaten guys that have been on the Olympia stage with a terrible package, and then my best package, I've shown up and gotten my face kicked in. So it isn't always your best package that is going to win a show. Sometimes it's a package that, like, isn't that good, but you ended up beating people, and it just works out that way.
I mean, that's how sport in general works. Mm-hmm. Not the best. The best team on the field does not always win. There's all kinds of factors. Everything you said. I mean, it could be judging, could be lighting. I mean, it could be a whole host. Someone could trip. some dude with a massive package. The top package. He falls, and you're like, and you're like,
I got this.
Hey, bud. Yeah. All right. So okay. So how do you transition from that into, obviously that's not sustainable for your entire life. You need to have a job and support yourself. How are you supporting yourself during those times? Because I imagine, like, your training regimen's pretty serious.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go through different life events, I guess is what you want to call it.
Don't we all?
But I mean, usually there's like 8 weeks out of the year that I kind of just like transition to not training as much and just kind of enjoying life, because most of the year I'm in shape, I mean, like last year, I was in shape for dang near like almost the whole year. But I wasn't competing. I was just doing photo shoots, and
I thought you were competing because, like, I was seeing all your pictures and stuff, and I'm just like, holy shred, dude! And then you did that photo shoot, and I was like, I thought this dude was going to do a show.
Yeah, I mean,
were there any shows?
There were, but there weren't any that I was going to do. I mean, I had a lot of guys in the IFBB messaging me, and guys that didn't even follow me were watching my stories, and people were paying attention to what I was doing.
If anybody wants to follow you on Instagram, where do they find you at?
Oh, they would go to just search my name, Brandon Robichaux _ IFBB Pro.
Cool.
Yeah, so pretty easy to find me.
I'll make sure it's in the description too.
Cool. But yeah, so I last year it was just getting ready for photo shoots. Like there weren't really any shows that I wanted to do, but I had a lot of people wondering, like, what is he doing? Is he doing a show? And that's always a good feeling because it lets you know that you're on the right track, that you're doing what you need to do. I mean, I even had coaches like hit me up like, "What are you doing? Like, are you looking good, man?"
That's good when coaches are hitting you up.
When you got coaches, when you got other pros that are like, I mean, one of my buddies was like, "Hey, so are you sneaking into the show this Saturday in Texas? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't have a ticket. I'm good. You guys have fun, enjoy.
Sneak attack.
I will watch from the couch on Instagram. I'm good, you know. And I mean, it's not that the drive to compete isn't there. I mean, it really is. But I have so many things that personally on a physical level that I want to improve and work on before I step back on stage, you know. And again, it's not necessarily to win. I mean, obviously, as a pro, the ultimate goal is to make it to the Olympia, you know, and to step on the Olympia stage. At that point, you are elite. And I mean, that's the goal. But again, to be an inspiration to so many different people, all walks of life, and lead people. I mean, you know, you asked about how am I able to, you know, facilitate this life. I mean, I'm a full-time coach. You know, this is what I do 24/7. I mean, I don't go to a job. I don't get up and go to work, you know. Like we talked a little while ago, like some days I feel retired because I don't feel like I work, you know. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I still work hard for my clients, you know.
Sure.
And I give them what they need and I'm there for them, but it's not a job to me, you know. It's just not. And
so like what's the normal day for you? Kind of like wake up and go from there.
Pretty much.
Here's like who's texting me?
Yeah,
so,
you know, like I wake up and I mean, usually I kind of know like what I'm doing, you know. Usually like my clients are checking in, depending on if I have people that are competing or not. If they're competitors, like they're usually checking in on Fridays. If I have, you know, my lifestyle clients, those are all people that are checking in on Sundays. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is typically devoted to getting back, to check-ins and responding to emails and things like that. You know, depending on what other tasks that need to be completed for the rest of the week, that's kind of what that goes to. But I mean, it's an interesting life, man, because every client that I have is online. You know, I don't coach anybody face to face.
So you weren't affected during COVID or anything as far as?
Not at all, man.
Did you I would almost think you maybe picked up a little business because there was a big health kick. What are you doing during quarantine?
Well, and that was it, you know, because people were like, oh, well, you know, like, what do you do now? You know, the gyms are closed. What do we do? And so, you know, I just kind of decided, well, I'm just going to lead by example. I went and bought a few weights, built a little gym in the garage, and trained in the garage.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you have to do. You know, I think at first it was like, I'll take the weights and some bands to a park, and I'll create a circuit. We'll do sprints. We'll do push-ups. We'll do...
You can make anything hard.
Bandward. You really can. And that was kind of like, that was the goal, you know, like, we didn't have access to super heavy weight, you know?
Right.
And so I told a lot of my clients, like, whatever weights you have, the goal, make lightweight, heavy AF. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that was the goal. I mean, most of us guys can bench more than 80-pound dumbbells, but that's as heavy as I had. So I just made sure to make that as heavy as I could possibly make it. So like, you go extra slow, you do as many reps as you can, you do different type of tempo, whatever you can, you know, static holds, whatever.
Just like no excuses. I like that. Like, because I know so many people who are like, well, I can't go to the gym, so, you know, it's closed for 2 weeks, so I guess I got a 2-week break. And I'm like, is this a task for you, or is it like a job? Because you need to embrace it like that.
That's the thing, is a lot of people, you know, I have some clients that are like that. They kind of look at it as the gym as a task. It's not something that they find to be fun.
I get to go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
That's the way that I think about it.
Yep.
Like I know some people are like, well, after work I have to go to the gym, and I'm like, I'm more like, can't wait to get out of work so I can go to.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
You know,
because you're excited.
That's my spot.
Yep, and that's how I am every day. Like, I'm always like, okay, I know between 3 and like 6 o'clock. At that point, that's my gym time. I'm gonna be going to the gym sometime in there. You know, so I'm managing my meals all day to make sure that they line up to where between 3 and 6, I'm off to the gym.
So your clientele, you do everyday people to bodybuilders?
I do everybody. You know, it's funny because people, when I first got in this business, a lot of guys, you know, I'd get advice from. They'd be like, "Well, find your niche," and I'm like,
"That's definitely a phrase I hear a lot."
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, "F that." Like, I don't really have a niche.
Isn't the niche health?
Yeah, exactly.
Wellness, inspiration.
People that want to get fit, people that want to improve. Like my goal, and I tell this to every single client, especially my clients that compete. My goal is that we want to take a shit on anything you've ever done.
I love that. That's awesome.
So I don't mean to offend anybody. I cuss. So that's just what
Me too. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like I really want to like ruin anything or make whatever you've done before look terrible. And that's the goal. Like if you can make your best look terrible, imagine how you're going to look, right? And that's my mission. My mission, when I tell my clients all the time, like your goal is my mission. So if your goal is to be completely shredded or get huge or whatever your goal is, that's my goal for you. You know, I mean, I might put my little spin on it and be like, hey, I think we can improve this and this, and let's work on this more.
Right.
Meaning like shoulders, biceps, chest, whatever, glutes for girls, whatever. Right. But the goal is to change you aesthetically to make you look better than you've ever looked. And as far as like my niche market, it's everybody. I mean, I will say that the majority of my clientele are lifestyle clients. I don't have a ton of competitors.
So when you say lifestyle, like break that down for someone who's...
So basically somebody who's just everyday run of the mill, you know, whether that's somebody that's a beginner in the gym that's just getting into it and being, and you know, because what I've heard a lot, male and female clients, they'll say things like, you know, I got married, I had kids, I was focused on my career, and now I'm out of shape and I don't like the way that I look. I get a ton of those people. And then we work on them. And what's funny is a lot of those people go, I kind of want to do a show, you know, and then we transition into contest prep.
That's that blind inspiration thing, man.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's memes out there. I think I saw a meme just yesterday. It was a girl that was walking on the stairs, and it said, it had all these like labels for each step, and she had her foot on the first step, and her next foot was on like the very top step, and it was like, and I think there was a label on her. It said all women, and the bottom step says join a gym, and the top step says do a show. And there's all these steps that go in between, but like women always skip it. They're like, they join a gym and they're like, I think I'm gonna do a show. Yeah. And you know what? Is as funny as it is though, like I was talking to another coach about this who's out here in Vegas, and it's totally true. Women are the easiest to transition from lifestyle to a show. They really are. Men have to put on so much mass. A lot of guys come to me and they don't have hardly any muscle, and they say, I want to smash everybody. And I'm like, it's gonna take a minute, you know, like understand that. I don't care if you jump on supplements that are illegal, right? It's still gonna take you a minute. Right. It doesn't work that way. We don't just start injecting things and then boom, you become a mass monster like Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, you've been eating and building your physique for a decade almost, right? Like it wasn't. You said you got your butt kicked a few times. You showed up like
I thought I was a stud in 2014.
You probably the biggest stud in your gym.
Well, I would say I was probably one of the more muscle defined. You know what I mean? But definitely not the biggest guy. You know, I mean, I still was only stepping on stage at 172 pounds. I was still really small.
What's your like show ready weight now kind of goal?
Well, right now I'm walking around between 203 and 210, depending on how much I ate the day before. And I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm show ready by any means or even close to it. I'm definitely probably 15, 20 weeks out if I were to do a show right now. Maybe even shorter than that, depending on how hard I want to diet. But, you know, when I step on stage, I think the last time I stepped on stage, I was 182 to 184, 185 pounds, you know what I mean? And that's completely shredded, you know? And I think when you saw me last year, there were times that I was 182, you know, 183.
There's a few times last year, like, especially like in the gym, you're just hitting a couple sessions and I was just like, is he gonna walk on stage in a second? Like, it's like, shit.
Yeah, there were times that like I mean I remember talking to my coach, you know, and I would ask him, I'm like, what do you think? You think we could do one? He goes, we could. He's like, but I don't think you're ready. And I'm like,
hold on. The coach has a coach.
Yeah,
break it down. Break it down.
Coaches have to have coaches, man.
Why is that, man?
Think of it like this: the second that you think you know it all is kind of the second that you're going to lose.
Again, the freaking mindset this guy has. Like, he has a decade of bodybuilding knowledge, and he's like, but I don't know it all. Like, that's amazing.
There's so much more to learn because every day it changes. There's so many different concepts that are coming out, you know. I mean, 10 years ago, BCAAs were the hottest thing on the market, right?
Don't get me started.
EAAs are the hottest thing on the market now. And let me just put this out there. you eat enough protein in a day, you don't need either one.
Yeah, or hey, you better work real hard if you think you need some PCAs.
You just
How
don't.
about a bottle of water?
Yeah, you just don't need them. I mean, honestly, if it takes adding that to your water to drink water, fine. But you don't necessarily need those things. And hopefully my supplement company that sponsors me isn't listening. But it's I don't want to get myself in trouble here. But the truth of the matter is that it's just a product we don't absolutely need.
It's a supplement. It is to help you with your other things.
Here's the thing: if you were vegan, I would tell you all day, get some EAAs, BCAAs, whatever, and EAAs for sure, because you need the leucine, and you're probably not getting a lot of that because you're not eating animal fats and animal meats, so you're not eating any animal products, and so therefore you got to get it from somewhere. So EAAs are important, but for guys like myself who are eating anywhere between 260 grams to 300 grams of protein a day, I don't need that. Even when I feel super depleted, it just isn't needed. And it's probably not helping you with your cut anyways. I always laugh when I see guys that are like, oh, I'm doing my fasted cardio, got my BCAAs. And I'm like, what's the point of your fasted cardio now?
It's just cardio at that point. It's just cardio. And it's probably crappy cardio too.
I know, right? Anyways, I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is it food time yet?
No kidding, right? We're talking about. I don't know. Let's move on with a little something else though. As far as like we're talking about the coach. Why the coach needs a coach?
Oh yeah. I mean honestly, like I said, you just never know everything.
That's awesome.
And the thing of it is like coaches learn through application. So while I have a coach, I also learn a lot through my clients, right? So because of the experience that I get working with the people that I work with, I learn so much through them. But then there are times that I'm like, things will work or they won't work, and I'm like, well, that's confusing. So I'll go to my coach and I'll ask questions. But when you're going through your own process, it's so many times you can look in the mirror and think that you're way better than you are, and your coach gives it to you straight and lets you know. You need that accountability. You need that person that looks at you from a non-biased point of view. Like sometimes my clients don't like me.
That's a good thing.
Because they'll think that they look awesome, and I'll go, we're not ready yet. Like last year when I was going to my coach and I was like, hey, I think we look pretty damn lean. Like, I think we're show ready. And he's like, no, we're not ready yet. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, I'm definitely leaner than I've ever been. Like, I know for a fact that I'm beyond leaner at this point right now than I was last year when I was getting ready for my shows last year in 2019. And I'm like, how am I not ready? And he's like, we want you at the best, absolute best conditioning you could ever be. And so when he put it to me that way, it was kind of like, okay, he knows that I could be better. He's really trying to push me. And that to me is what a coach is supposed to do. Sometimes you can't do that on your own. If you think about that for a second, like I went to him thinking that I was ready.
You would have said, F it, I'm just going to enroll. Or I'm gonna
I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah. And the way that he looks at it is like, no, you can be better. We can push harder. Let's push harder. And it was like, okay, well, all right, cool. And it's a little frustrating. But without that, I wouldn't have pushed even harder, And I did get better, by doing that. Was it frustrating to kind of like go that whole season and not compete at all and be as lean as I was and the thing of it is like I told you, there are areas that I want to improve physically. Like my back has always been my weak point. Like when I step on stage, my back just isn't great. Like it doesn't match my front. And that's what I've always been told. My front looks great, but my back is so far behind.
Best shoulders in the game for sure. I feel like everyone's like, yeah, Brandon's got the shoulders. There's Mr. Shoulders. He knows it too. He's like, yeah, I get a lot of shoulders. Shh. There'll be a picture. Don't worry.
But like I that's something I really worked on is my back and try to improve that. And it was much improved. And I mean, I would show him before and after pictures and I'm like, look at this growth. And he's like, yeah, you've definitely grown, but you can be better. And that's kind of like his mindset. And I love it because he gives it to me straight. It's not him, saying that I'm not good enough. It's not him trying to hold me back or anything like that.
You haven't hit your ceiling yet.
Yeah, that's the way he's looking at it.
And
He's like, you can be better. So, I've taken some time to kind of enjoy life, and which I've been doing. I was just in Miami recently.
Recently. How was it taking? I saw you haven't had a couple of drinks, you were living it up, baby.
I tell you what, I think my first 3 days in Miami, I for sure drank way more than I ate food. I was living off of strawberry margaritas and shrimp tacos.
You looked really happy. I was watching your stories, and I'm like, this dude, because a lot of your stories are in the gym doing stuff, and very mindset related, and it was really cool to see you just enjoy yourself and kind of flip a switch.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just literally talking to my girl about this just literally on the way over here. It's so easy as a competitor to only be focused on when the next show is or what the next goal is. That mindset comes from that. We're always looking at what's next. But, I've really taken some time in the last few months to really just focus on quality of life and enjoying everything outside of the gym and bodybuilding and that mindset, right? And
so, would you say you've done that through setup of your because it sounds like you have a pretty easy day. When I say easy day, I mean it sounds like you've put in the work before.
Oh,
and
dude,
all this stuff set up.
It's so easy because I wasn't always a full-time coach. Coaching was kind of the side hustle. When a lot of guys when they start a business, think about real estate, right? Guys that get into real estate, they always tell you don't quit your job unless you've got money just chilling and you can live off the cash.
You don't get paid till you sell a house.
Right, you don't get paid till you sell a house. And so, you're working on weekends, after you study your life off for the real estate license test, because that's not an easy one. When you finally pass that, then you go and you start working for a brokerage, whatever, and you're showing houses on the weekends or you're showing houses at nighttime when you're off of work. Mm-hmm. You might get holidays off from your normal job, but you're working for real estate on those days because you're showing houses. And so you're not quitting that job until you've got steady cash flow coming in. And it's sales.
Were you there? You're a part-time coach, I guess. Mm-hmm. Were you working another job too?
Oh yeah. I was full-time. I had a lot of jobs in those situations. I worked for a credit union for years at that time. I was in lending, and then I moved into IT.
But did you were these are just something for now? My passion is this, and that's where I want to go? Or
I'll be honest, man.
Later discovered
I'll be honest. I never in my mindset, wildest dreams, whatever you want to call it, imagined doing this full time and doing what I do and living the life that I live.
I'm super jealous about that.
I never imagined it at all. I even recently thought of going back and getting a real job. I thought to myself, I have time. Why not go get a real job? And I had an opportunity, and I decided instead of jumping at that, knowing that I was going to be putting a lot of time into that job, I was like, why don't I just put this time into my business and make more money?
And how did that work out for you?
Well, it's funny because this was more of a recent thing,
okay.
Recently, because even a year ago, I even thought to myself, man, I'm just gonna go be a Walmart greeter. I just want to go be around people and right? Put my time into something. There was even a time I was gonna go train at Proto, and that didn't work out, that just came down to I love training. I love my people. I love helping people. But I did not want to give up my time that I have. That's the best thing about what I do, is that I can do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. That's the greatest part about being an entrepreneur. When you create it to what you want it to be, where I sit at right now in life is I can travel when I want. I can leave town when I want.
And you can still work.
And I can still work.
And a lot of your work isn't necessarily I call them hard hours. Mm-hmm. So hard hours would be if I had to work at the store, I'd have to be there from 9:45 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night.
Yep.
There's no way to I can't get it done quicker.
Right.
I just have to be there. But
right.
For you, it's more you can build out meal plans or answer questions or respond to check-ins or whatever tonight, tomorrow, a little bit later, an hour from now.
Mm-hmm.
You can get ahead of it.
Yep. Exactly. When they start coming in on Sundays, I can start Sundays if I wanted to. I could get things done Monday, I can get things done Tuesday, and what I typically do is I get a few done each day. Wednesday is typically my cleanup day, and I finish it all.
What do you think's been your biggest life setup step that you've done? as far as like automating your life kind of thing? Like, would you say like?
Honestly, man, like I think what has set me up to where I'm at now is creating. I don't know, man. It's hard to say because I'm reading this book right now that talks about taking credit for your accolades, things that you accomplish. Okay. There's my humble part of me that's coming out because I'm so grateful for the clientele that I have, because I have created a situation where they actually refer people to me. Their progress wins people over to come and work with me. They talk to their people, or their people sees their progress and they go, "Who's your coach?" Or "You should talk to my coach," things like that. And then I get into a conversation and boom, I'm selling them, and closing them, and we get them set up, and then they become part of that, and their people get referred. And so it's just, like, I'm so grateful for it. I can't even explain how grateful for it. I can't really put that into words. Because when I look back at my life before, it's shocking that I'm here.
Yeah. No, I think you just made like the smartest move with like never doing it in person, or like never relying on in person to be your primary like revenue stream. Yeah. I'm sure you would do stuff in person, but if most of your clients are widespread or across the United States, then like you said, you can do it from anywhere. If if you were a personal trainer in Las Vegas, 6 months ago or 8 months ago or whenever, when they closed gyms, like you're probably
what do you do?
Yeah, you're probably out of a job. And then at this time too, maybe you're like, all right, now I have to pivot to online. You're not set up for it. You got to figure it out.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you get new clients?
And you only, like we talk about hard hours. You only have so many hours in the day. You can only sit there. And tell someone they're doing reps wrong for so many hours in the day, but you can have 10 times the clients because of the way you're set up.
Yeah, my goal right now is to double my clientele. That's my goal right now. Is I want to double what I have.
Do you have a time frame?
Well, we're coming up on April now. Okay. I would like to double my clientele April, May, by June. At the end of June is where I'd like to double it.
So let's say someone wanted to sign up with you. What would that entail in terms of like what am I getting from you? Am I getting a meal plan? Am I getting a workout plan?
Yeah.
So what do I get? What do I get when I sign up with Coach Brandon?
So the first thing that I always tell people is this: it's like, I always get into conversations and they always ask me like, what do you offer? And I go right into asking them what their goals are, because what they want is typically what I want to give them, right? And so, I mean, what do you get from any fitness coach, right? I mean, there's all kinds of fitness coaches out there, and they promise all this stuff. They give all this stuff to them. You're gonna get my booty program, and you're gonna get my shoulder program, and blah 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 blah. Like, here's the thing that you're gonna get from me. What are your goals? Your goals are this, this, and this. Okay, perfect. That's my mission, number one. Number two, you're going to get real. I don't bullshit anything, I just don't, you know what I mean? So
you can't.
You
not in this. There's no room for feelings in fitness.
No, there really aren't.
If you're overweight, guess what? It's I hate to say this, but it's not when you're morbidly obese, people are like, I'm comfortable with myself and my skin. I'm like, I guess, but you're so unhealthy. You're hurting yourself and the people around you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough subject. I think there's been a lot of talk about, I want to say, I don't remember what magazine it was, whether it was Sports Illustrated or whoever, but there were some women they put on there that were very big, very thick, curvy, beautiful women,
sure,
right?
Sure, yeah.
And I'm not criticizing anything, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because all I heard on social media is, this is unhealthy, this is disgusting, I can't believe they're promoting this as being healthy. And on one hand, I totally agree with the fact that, when a woman says, or even a man that says, you know what, I'm comfortable in my skin, I'm happy, I think it's important to recognize that you can be happy with how you look. I recently went to a party where we had to dress up as, it was a murder mystery party. We had to dress up as our people, right? Whoever our character was. And this party took place in the 1920s. and my character was an acrobat. Okay, but it was a dinner party, so we were supposed to wear something that kind of depicted who we were. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how am I going to wear a suit or whatever, but then also portray an acrobat?
Yeah, right.
So I tend to like to go overboard with things. So I totally bought a singlet.
Hell yeah.
That, like, the legs came way up here.
Oh, yeah.
And my junk's hanging out, you know what I mean? And the singlet comes way down here, so like nothing. I'm basically kind of naked.
Sure, yeah.
I wore a blazer.
Classic.
I did my hair. I wore some nice like dress boots.
What a guy.
I walked into this place. I walk up.
Can you send me a picture of this?
I'll show it to you.
Okay.
So I walk up to the owner of the house, and I don't even know why this came out, but I went to shake his hand. I said, "Hey man, what's up? I'm Brandon." I said, "Don't worry, you don't got to be intimidated." I get nervous, and so sometimes like the dumbest things come out of my mouth. Needless to say, they kind of thought I was a douchebag at first,
sure.
Which I totally get. But the point of me bringing up that story is I went back and looked at some of those pictures. I was like, what? I'm not unhappy with the way that I look. I might be at like the fattest stage that I will let myself get to, but I'm not unhappy with how I look. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I would like to look better.
Right.
Because again, it goes back to my mindset of never being completely satisfied. I always want to progress. But I'm not unhappy with how I look. And I think it's important to do that. But I think it's also important to recognize when too much is too much.
And
you know what I mean?
On both sides, I think you even said it, like, hey, bodybuilding as a professional sport is not healthy.
Totally.
But you recognize that. You know the risk. Everything else is involved. And it's not something, you're not going to be bodybuilding till you're 90, I would assume.
No.
When I imagine your point you're going to get into, I'm cutting you off a little bit.
No, you're fine.
But is that, too much is too much. There's nothing wrong with being comfortable in your own body and your own skin, but like at a point where it starts affecting your health and other people around you, you then have to go.
Yep. And that's and you hit a really, really great point, because when we compete, sometimes we're so focused on the competition, focused on the diet, focused on, because you got to think, from the time that we wake up to the time we go to bed, every single second of every day is dedicated 2 months down the road, those 3 to 5 minutes being on stage.
How many minutes are you on stage?
You're on stage for 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. You know what I mean? And sometimes it feels longer, but it's really no longer than that.
Right.
And so every single second leading up to that for months is for that moment, right? And it is such a vain sport. We become so vain. We become so focused on ourselves and selfish. It's a very selfish sport. It's very hard to be in a relationship, because you're so focused on yourself. You are so selfish, and you're not really paying attention to your partner. You're more into how you look, and everything's about you.
Even I imagine going out to eat was probably an ordeal.
Oh, it can be a nightmare sometimes, because then you're trying to find something to eat and you can't. Like for example, like chicken doesn't do well with me. Like I found I've kind of got like an allergy to it. Like I typically get bloated. It doesn't digest very well for me. So it's hard for me to go to a restaurant and find something to eat, because I can't just get a regular chicken salad, which I'm totally fine going to dinner and having chicken salad. But here's the thing. You ask my girl if it's okay that I go get a chicken salad. She's not happy about that, because she wants to see me eat food.
And she wants to enjoy the experience with you. And
100%.
You're sitting there like, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Salad.
Right.
How was your day?
Yeah, and you're watching her eat some pasta. That's not very. Right. But I do take delight in watching other people and enjoy, them enjoying their time. But at the same time, man, it is.
So like you were saying, though, a lot of stress. It causes a lot of stress in your relationships.
It causes a lot of stress on relationships. Not just in your relationship with your person, but also just friendships, parents, everybody. It causes a lot of stress. And so like you kind of start to distance yourself from certain events and parties and dinners, and you kind of just focus on you and like, nah, I'm not gonna go. I'm just gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna go home.
I would at least I've experienced that not to the extent that you have. I'm an ASU party kid, but like my lifestyle has changed pretty dramatically since over the last 10 years. But like, do you ever find yourself like? I feel like a lot of the changes I made, like 80, like if you were to say I made 100 changes, let's just say, I would say that 80 of them were good. But like 20 of them, like, I do find myself, like, I got better eating habits. I don't drink and party as much. And, my mindset's a lot better. But then, like, I also feel like I miss out on some things with, like, my friends and stuff. And I say no to things a lot. I feel like I'm not as fun. Right? That's what I'm getting at.
Bro, I tell you, I swear it's like you were listening to my conversation on the way over here. I was just talking to my girl about this, and her and I have been together for 3 months, coming up on 4 months here.
Oh, hell yeah.
soon.
Congratulations.
Yeah, brand new relationship. She's great.
I saw your smile in Florida. She's probably pretty great.
Yeah, she's a little hottie, man. No, she's a really good girl, and her family's amazing. I met her family down in Florida, and we had an amazing time there. But it's funny because we were talking about competing and things like that, and like I said, the drive to compete is still there. It's something that I still want to do. I'm not retired by any means, but I don't have like the same like need for wanting to get on stage. Before it was always like, I need to get on stage and prep, and you need to get back into prep, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not in any hurry. And part of that is because of what her and I have created in terms of like our life. And I mean, we have our separate lives completely. We don't live together or anything like that. But my point is like our relationship life has opened my mind to a lot of different things outside of competing. I've really learned, like, I'm really not a drinker, man. Like, I'm not. Like, I for sure have drank a lot more since I've met her. And I'm not saying I have a drinking problem by any means.
You mean you've had more fun?
But I definitely have a lot more fun, and because it's definitely a different side of fun, because it's kind of like when you said somebody that says like, I have to go to the gym after work, and you're like, no, I get to go to the gym. Part of that is a mindset, but it's also part of the fact that you say that because you love it. You love going. It's one of those things you're like, man, I'm at work. I can't wait to get out of here. I want to go to the gym. But there's also the other aspects of life that I've really learned to enjoy. Like, I love just traveling and experiencing new places, different restaurants, a drink here and there, and just being around people that you love to be around. And for the longest time, the people that I was hanging out with were people that were bodybuilders, competitors, people that are in the gym all the time. Now I'm hanging out with people that really don't even go to the gym.
Me and my friend had this conversation last night, which is weird too. And we were talking about like how I tend to be way too goal oriented.
Right.
Everything is a goal. When I go to, I'm training for I was training for a competition that got canceled, like a CrossFit thing.
Yeah.
And then literally I was like, well, I can't waste all this training on nothing. I didn't do it for nothing. I was like, triathlon. Boom, let's do triathlon. I never, like, everything I do has a goal and like it benefits me in some sort of way. Like, I never just like chill.
Yeah.
I never like, hey, I just want to go like sit on my couch and watch TV and just be. Yeah. Like, I'm so goal oriented. And it can be disruptive at a point.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, I have a very lazy mentality. Growing up, I mean, I was never really, my mom was never like, clean your room and, help out around the house. Like, I was allowed to just kind of do nothing and play video games and go play with friends. And I didn't have to worry about if my desk was clean or if my house was, or my room was clean. And I live alone now, and it's like, I like a clean house. I like it when my office is nice and set up. It looks cool, like I like it when my bed's made. But I also like just chilling. But here's the thing that I don't like is when I chill too much and I don't have those goals, I don't feel as productive. And
I feel like I fall out of it.
Yeah, I feel like the thing of it is people like us, we thrive when we're productive in something, especially something we're passionate about. So I think it's good to have balance, but one thing that my coach told me a while back, and I've read this before many, many times, to be elite at something, you can't have balance. You just can't. Because the second you step on stage next to somebody who doesn't give a fuck about that balance, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And then you're going to look back and be like, wow, did that balance really mean that much to me? And that's the thing that, like, that's the other part that, like, right now I'm enjoying the balance. I still train hard. I still train 4 to 6 times a week. I'm still killing it in the gym. I didn't sleep well because it was leg day yesterday and my legs are killing me. Like they hurt right now. And my lower back was hurting last night, because back day was day before, so like I didn't sleep well. I'm still doing what I need to do. I'm still working hard, but I also, right now, I'm having that balance, that other aspect of life that I enjoy, that I love. I know that when I get back into, when I decide, okay, I'm going to start prep, that a flip is going to switch and that balance isn't going to mean anything to me anymore. That balance is going to go away because it's going to be about prep, doing a show, getting as peeled as possible, because I don't want to step on stage knowing that I didn't give it my all.
Being unprepared in a situation when you're like normally a very prepared person is the most uncomfortable feeling in the world, especially when you know it's your fault.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm not known for being a huge guy, right? Especially when I get on stage, I'm not known for being a big guy. I pose big for my size. So when I pose, a lot of times I look a lot bigger than what I really am. But what I'm known for is how shredded I get, how peeled I get. And if I can't look like that on stage, I won't get up there, period. If I can't be completely peeled, inside out, shredded, I ain't getting up there. It won't happen, because that's not what I'm not known for that. I'm known for being super peeled. I'm known for my conditioning. I've tried to play the size game, and I've even had guys, I remember I tried to play the size game one year, and I showed up and I was on stage like 192 that year. And I got like almost last call outs. It was terrible. I looked good. I mean, I was big, but I wasn't as shredded as I normally get.
And you genetically look fantastic when you're peeled.
Yeah, I mean,
you do.
I know when I'm peeled, and I'm happy with that look, But I remember waking up that morning for that show, and I'm 192, and I'm like, dude, I'm not stepping on stage with my normal conditioning. I know I'm not. I know I'm bigger. I know I look good, but God, I don't look as good as I think I should, And I remember one of my good friends, who I turned pro with back in 2016. He was at the same show, and he's like, man, I feel like you really try to play the size game this time around. He's like, I mean, you look good. You're way bigger. He's like, but dude, I just think you need to go back to your home and just be shredded. And I did a show 3 weeks later, completely peeled out of my mind. I ended up taking 5th in that show. And I played the game that I played to my strengths at that point, and that's something that I'll always do. It's fun to try to get as big as possible and create more shape and things like that, but it's not always about just getting big. It's about creating a better look. And that's always the goal for me. So,
but to do that, to create a look, which I think like a lot of people just think they'll go to the gym, do some curls and whatever, they get big arms, whatever. But like to create a look takes like just an insane amount of not only like knowledge, but dedication, just every day, inside and outside of the gym. And like we were saying, like the month before a show, like how stressed is your personal life? Like I imagine that like you're very lasered in, and it's like, like everything, like your sleep, your workout, everything has that almost down to like the hour.
Well, like the last prep that I was in, and even last year when I was getting lean for my photo shoots and stuff, I was single, man. Like, so I didn't really have a lot of stress. I didn't have to worry about a significant other, and balancing a relationship with competing. That's hard. It really is. It's difficult. It's not easy to do. I would imagine that the girl I'm with now, like she's very independent, and has her own things, goals in life and things like that. So I would imagine that I would actually be pretty easy prepping for a show with her, honestly.
I think I didn't think about it that way. It could be like the greatest imbalance or greatest.
Totally. I think a lot of it has to do with how codependent your relationship is.
Sure.
Right? If they're very codependent on you, if they're paying attention to whether or not you're not paying attention to them, and if that's a big deal, don't get me wrong. I mean, you still got to pay attention to your person, regardless of whatever you're doing. Whether you're laser focused into college, a job, competing, you still have to have some kind of balance, to pay attention to your person. You can't just be non-existent in the relationship. But for me, it was easy the last 2 times that I tried to get lean because I was single. I didn't have to worry about anybody but myself. So it was a lonely life because it was a lot of time alone. But you get used to that. And there's always those sayings of like, people that are okay being alone are extremely dangerous, because you're extremely focused on what your goals are. But that's what helped me like really grow my business too into what it is, being so focused into that, and then being able to be there 100% for my clients and grow that trust to where they know that they're taken care of, and they can send people to me and they know that I'll take care of them. Because I mean, you're not going to refer any person to anything that you don't trust. You know what I mean? I mean, because that puts your name out there.
Yeah, that's the whole point of a referral, right?
Yeah. You're putting your name out there. Like I would be there. I mean, there's been times I've referred people to others, and it like, and the person like totally turned out to be different, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, I will never send anybody to you again. I will never help you. Like, there's no way I'll ever send person to you again, because it makes you look bad.
Right.
You know, so.
And I'll specifically go out of my way sometimes when I have someone like that I really do care about. Like, hey, I'm sending this person to you for. I'm like, all right, well, I will like specifically take an extra. Like, I will make sure that they get the extra level of care and things like that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you know, I that laser focus is there, but again, it's like at those times it was the easiest thing. But competing, like, once I'm in that mode, I mean, it's normal for me. I have learned how to essentially have the balance and being able to, because I used to think to myself, like, I've got to have competing on my mind all the time and all this stuff. And now I'm able to differentiate things and not be so, everything isn't just about competing for me. You know, there are definitely other aspects of life that I like to enjoy. And when I'm not in the gym, I like to think about other things rather than being on stage, you know. Don't get me wrong, as you get closer to, I mean, I feel like it's just the same. I feel like I approach things similar to how an MMA athlete might approach a fight, right? As an MMA athlete gets closer and closer and closer to the fight, they kind of transform into a monster or whatever you want to call
They
it.
take on a new psyche as well.
And so now that's kind of like where they kind of go to a different place. And I'm always able to do that. And as I get closer, like, I'm constantly like when I'm 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, I mean, yeah, my mind is on the show a lot. But the one thing that I've learned how to do is never forget my people too, you know, and understand that there are other parts of life that still exist. It's not just about the show. That's a hard place to get to because it does for a lot of people, it requires them to be show, you know, all day long, 24/7.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's I couldn't imagine, like you said, having all that prep work that goes into it for 3 to 5 minutes. It just, you know, like,
that's the thing is trying to get people who don't compete to realize that, you know, typically on the average, I would say most people do 12-week prep. I typically do anywhere between 14 and 18 weeks. Okay. Depending on how fat I am when I start prep. So, but I mean, like, you got to think you're doing that for 12 weeks, 16 weeks. You put in how many hours that is a day, how many minutes you're taking to prep food and pack it, you know, and if you've got meetings like this, are you taking food with you? You know, stuff like that, you know, and you know, for people that have normal jobs, 9 to 5s, they're taking their food with them to work. They're eating it while they're at work. They're leaving work and they're going straight to the gym. So they've got like multiple bags they're bringing into the office. They're not getting home till 10 or 11 at night to eat their last meal, you know, because maybe they work till 7 at night, you know, and then they go to the gym and they're there till 9:30, 10 o'clock. They get home, 10:30, 11 o'clock, they're eating their last meal. And they're finally crawling in bed at midnight because they took an hour to kind of just decompress and relax and watch TV. And when you think about that, that person is spending a great portion of their day towards work. And then you got to think, like, as much fun as competing is, and it's a hobby and it's fun for a lot of people, it's still work. Yeah. And you got to think, I know that when I saw my potential, and I had people asking me to represent their company for this, that, or the other product or whatever, I started looking at this like, okay, I need to like look at the gym as a job now. Like, it has to be done. Meal prep is like a job now. It has to be done. You know, eating all my meals, again, is a job. It has to be done. So all these
if you want to maintain the lifestyle, the awesome lifestyle that you love.
Well,
right?
And I looked at it as like, okay, I see, you know, living in Alaska when I first started competing, I mean, Instagram was just taking off, and you had guys like Steve Cook who were killing the fitness game, and it looks like all they do is train. And you're like, how does this guy live? Like, where does he live? Does he pay rent?
Yeah, and living lavishly.
Yeah.
Or so it appears, at least. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It appears, right? And you never know, because, I mean, everybody posts their best thing on online. But, I mean, the thing of it is you see that guy killing it. You got guys like Bradley Martin, who's been famous for years. there's a lot of guys out there, right? There's a ton of guys. And you're like this new guy, and you're like, man, I want that life. I want that. What are they doing? So you start to look at things in the aspect of like, okay, if I want to get there, right? Before you become pro, you got to start acting like one. You got to start putting on the mindset that this is what I want. It's like, dress for the job that you want, not the one you have. Right? It's the same thing.
I also feel like you have to have, if you want to get to where you're going, you have to know where you're going.
Yep.
You can't if your goal is to be healthy, walk in the gym and lift some weights, cool. If your goal is to be a professional bodybuilder, don't walk in the gym and just lift some weights.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Go get yourself a coach.
And that's just it. And so like my next, for me, my next endeavor that I want to start doing, and this is something I'm kind of tossing over and figuring out how I'm going to do this, but I want to start kind of like a coaching apprenticeship, right? Basically,
that is a fantastic idea.
Where you have a ton of in-person trainers, right? And they're busting their butt. They're getting up at 4 a.m. and they're training people all day long, and they're killing it. And they might love that, but what freedom does that give them? You know what I mean? Sure, you could go open a gym and you could risk that. There's not a whole lot of money to be made in opening a gym, but what if I could tell you could make 6 figures a year being an online coach, right? And you could work a quarter of the time that an in-person trainer works. Would that spark your interest? You know what I mean? I think for most people, the answer is yes, emphatically. Please, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so, like, what I want to do is I want to kind of start like an apprenticeship where I bring on coaches and I show them how to get new clientele, how to be an online coach, right? I see things all the time, ads of coaches, that are like, this is what I did, and if you click this, and I've watched this video, and a lot of times it's just a lot of smoke and mirrors, but like, I have been able to create a good, successful business on my own without really the help of really a lot of people. No funding by any means. No one's helped me with financing of this.
I think that idea you have of like mentoring coaches is just unreal. Like, so many coaches just like, they go through a certification program, whatever the heck that is.
Yep.
And then like all of a sudden they're standing next to you texting on their phone while you're doing reps on a
100%.
leg machine, And
100%.
I'm just like there's gyms. I just recently joined LVAC just because I need a pool.
Right.
They have a pool. So I literally just did a lap around there, and I mean, I saw like 3 or 4 trainers just kind of hanging out, like the most unenthusiastic thing, and all I could think of was like, oh, you're like you're insulting me right now, like like your job is to be sitting with that guy and watching what he's doing, training him, and I just don't think a lot of people take it seriously, or they don't realize the sort of guidance, like, I'm not a coach by any means, but I've been I am friends with coaches. I hear like all the talk and everything, and I know when a coach isn't being coach-like, and like I see it just so often. I'm just like, especially when, like, someone who knows what they're doing. I'm like, you're not articulating your words correctly. I've heard coaches almost kind of like berate people. I'm like, look, like we said, like, be direct, kind of like with them. But there's a way to do it, that you do it with tact, and I'm sure you have your own methods of doing that.
Sure.
But like, I think you would just be an amazing person for that, because I mean, between your accolades and your knowledge, like, you're very well spoken. Like, that's the hardest thing, is like getting your ideas across to that client, right? And then but then how do you teach someone to get their ideas across to a client? Like, I think you're the guy that just.
It's something I would love to do, man. I mean, I always tell people, my clients, I'm always like, I kind of double as a life coach, because, I've literally helped clients through marriages. I've helped clients repair their marriage. I've helped clients get out of a marriage. That's not touting me by any means. I don't have like I'm not a psychology major. I don't have a psychology degree of any kind.
A good person with a level head on their shoulders.
But it's just
bounce off.
there's a you get a lot of experience through application, and I've been able to just figure. I don't know life. I don't know life, and what I mean by that is, and this is why having a coach is always important, right? Because when you think you have it figured out, you don't. And I don't have it figured out. But through the experiences that I've had through coaching, I've learned a lot about people. I feel like I should have a psychology major based on the experience that I have because I have experienced so much with the people that I've worked with.
I was going to say something earlier. I was going to say probably has a minor in human psychology because like when I was like doing your intro, because I was like, I just know when I talk to people about fitness and stuff, sometimes I'm like, and you do it for a living. So I'm just like, you have to like understand people's psyches, and you've probably seen that guy doing the same thing 1,000 times. You know,
100%. One of the questions that I ask my clients when they give me their check-ins is I want to know their mentality. I want to know where they are mentally, because it isn't always the physical aspect. I mean, sometimes we're not thriving because of the mental aspect. And so knowing that part of it is a big deal. But going into and teaching people from a fitness level, on a fitness coaching standpoint, that's kind of where I see myself going next. I mean, I love coaching people, and through their fitness and teaching them, I mean, I had a client not that long ago give me a review talking more about how I've helped her mentally and in her heart than her fitness.
Anybody can go to the gym every day, like, but like, do you go to the gym? Like, this is what gets you to the gym.
It's the mental aspect the mental aspect is the hardest part. I mean, right now, like my struggle is like some days I'm like, babe, can we just chill? Can we just chill and cuddle on the couch? Like that's all I really want to do right now. Let's order a pizza and just chill. That sounds like fun because it does sound like fun.
Absolutely.
It's what I want to do. But then there's that aspect of like, okay, but the pizza and the rest, obviously if it's a rest day, fine. But like having the pizza and like chilling too much is going to like be detrimental to my physique. That's going to mess my mind up. I'm going to be unhappy at that point. So you still have to do things that make you happy. But
so on your course, like, do you see it being more of like a certification of movements kind of thing, or do you see it more of like you said, like a mindset, like hey, or how you build your own program?
How you build your own program, exactly. And what I think I would offer is basically it would be extremely hands-on. They would have access to me all of the time, and what I mean by that is teaching them how to get new clients. That's a big deal. Most people don't understand how to get new clients.
You can't train anyone if you don't have anyone to train.
Exactly. And to be honest, like if you think about it like this, every single post that you put on Instagram, whether it's a story or a permanent post that you put there, every person that looks at your story, every person that likes a picture is a lead. Every single person. And all it takes is having a conversation. And the conversation doesn't even have to be about fitness to begin with, to obtain them as a client. I've been in just normal conversations with people, and at the end of it, they're paying me money because they want to work with me. You know what I mean? So it's just about understanding conversations, understanding people, understanding goals, and those types of things. You got to be able to read things, and there's a whole aspect of that.
You're like no bullshit mentality. Just like it's just so evident that like I think you could like literally just like make a Facebook video of like, this is my program, this is how it's structured. Sign up here. No fancy stuff. Let's go.
Period.
Like
exactly.
I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on Zoom.
Yeah. It's funny because my sister's boyfriend, he's in digital marketing. We're going to be doing some stuff together, but it's funny because we've had conversations about what we want to do to help grow the business as well. And we're having a conversation, and I'm talking to him and some other marketing guy, and they're like, man, I wish we had this conversation on record. Because this right here, we could totally take and put it out. And he said the same thing. He's like, you have like this no bullshit mentality. It's just like, here it is, boom, done. Like, let's go. There's no, like, again, you see all these videos all the time. They come across my feed all the time. And it's like, are you a coach? Are you trying to find new clients? Well, click here and we'll show you what we're doing and blah, 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 blah. And if we're not going to sell you anything, just watch this video. And if you like it, blah, 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 put your email in. And it's just like, it's just this. They call it a funnel, right?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, funnels are great for marketing. You can obtain a ton of leads from that.
It's a tool.
It is a tool.
One of many,
exactly. But on the flip side of it, a lot of those funnels are so smoke and mirrors. They don't really give out really any information. They don't help you. And don't get me wrong, like I'm going to be creating a funnel soon, right? But my funnel is going to be so different in the sense of like, it's, again, I'm not trying to bullshit you on anything. Like, there are products that I can sell you, and there's a product that I can give you, and that's that. Like, there's no smoke and mirrors of any kind. It's not like trying to pull the wool over your eyes. It's not trying to get your email so I can contact you later.
Right.
It's not, I'm not going to give you this one itty bitty piece of information that gives you nothing, essentially, but
Right.
then gets you thinking, well, if I give him my email and if I paid $20, like, I'm going to get all this
And
other stuff.
You've done it, and you understand how to build a clientele base on a personal, like, fitness level.
Yeah.
Like, so you understand, and you see where that's gotten you today, right? Like, so you, like, if you go out there and deviate from that plan and start putting all this bullshit thing to get trainers, like, I mean, maybe you make it for 6 months.
It's
right?
not me. You know what I mean? It's just not who I am.
No.
Like, I'm more of the, hey, do you want to get to work? Then let's get to work. It's that simple. Like, I don't play games, and I'm like that with my clients. I get people that they'll reach out, and their first question is, hey man, so and so sent me over to you. I wanted to see what your costs are. Do you think my answer right after that is, here's my cost? No. I build no value, and I could tell you the plan is $100, and you would say, oh, okay, man, thanks. I'll let you know. $100, first of all, for a coach is extremely cheap.
Yeah.
Like, if you're paying $100 a month, think you're lucky stars.
Yeah,
or
that's a credit.
Or they're a shitty coach, and they really aren't going to get you anywhere. So, but most of the time when people ask that, I'm like, hey, yeah, like, I would love to talk more with you. My costs depend on a lot of different things.
What are your goals and needs, right?
What are your goals? What do you need?
Yeah.
What is it that you need from me as a coach? What are your goals? And so we go into that, and don't get me wrong, I would say 95% of people, when they reach out to me and their first question is, what's your cost? 95% of those people do not sign up.
They're not motivated. They're obviously their motivation's in the wrong spot.
They're exactly.
They're trying to find the best deal on a coach.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Do you want the best deal on a coach, or do you want the best coach?
Yeah. Or here's the thing: how committed are you to your plan actually? Because if everything is based on cost, because I always tell people this, I'm like, hey, look, if cost is an issue, then let's figure that part out, because we can make cost work.
And I think the idea of things sound great. Like, so there's different tiers of wants. Mm-hmm. Like, you want a job, you go get a job. Like, you almost need a job, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want a 6-pack? Well, we'll see if you want one.
Yeah.
Or if you like the idea. Do you like the idea of having a 6-pack, or do you like having a 6-pack? Because I'm sure you can attest to this. Like, having a 6-pack is a full-time job in itself.
Dude, I can tell you right now. Like, when I was younger, and before I ever got into bodybuilding, I feel like every guy's done this. Get on bodybuilding.com.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And you're looking at, like, all the different workout programs.
Buy some merch.
Exactly. All the different workout programs, all the supplements. Oh man, I'm going to buy all these supplements and I'm going to get shredded. Wrong. That isn't going to work, number one. Two, then you're going to go find, like, whatever diet plan this person's doing.
Punch in your numbers real quick into this calculator that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, and then that's not going to work, you know? And I mean, we've all done it. We go through there, we find all these things, and we work for 2 weeks, and we go, oh, the results aren't coming. Fuck it, I'm out. Back to normal life.
Yeah, it's my genetics, right?
Or just whatever. Yeah, this diet plan's not working. It doesn't work.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I tried this, it doesn't work. And
should have stayed on keto.
Yeah, or whatever, you know. But the fact of the matter is like, the truth is you I know me at that time was not committed. You know, I remember I was on Facebook, and I remember seeing some people that were part of this program with this guy, and I was like, look at all these people's progress, man. Like, some of these guys aren't, like, even really athletes, and they're killing it. I'm like, I want to try this. So I hired him, and he had 4 phases, and each was $200 a piece. So I paid $200 for the first phase and $200 for the next phase, and that's when I was like, oh, I want to do a show. So we transitioned into show prep, but it really wasn't show prep. Nothing was different. And I was unhappy at the end of it, you know, and I was unhappy because what I found is when he was telling me to do things like, for example, like with the food, is what I didn't like. Number one, well, let me go back. The workout plan that he gave me was the same workout plan he gave to some girl, which I was really unhappy with.
Oh, we can talk about hours about this.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I will say that, I could give two guys the same training plan and they're going to benefit from it. Okay. But I would never give a girl and a guy the same plan ever. Completely different physiques. We're going for two different looks. Like, no way. But for two guys that have similar body types, heck yeah, I would give them the same workout plan.
Similar body types, similar goals. I mean, that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Why you don't need something.
They're going to the same place. They can drive on the same road.
Right. You don't need a completely different training plan. But from a nutrition aspect, yes. And the one thing I didn't like about this nutrition plan is he was telling me to eat 6 to 8 ounces of, and he would list all these different types of meat. He would list 93 to 99% ground beef or ground turkey, chicken breast, cod, halibut, salmon. And if you were to look up all the macros on those particular foods at 6 to 8 ounces, it would be all over the place. Yeah. Tons of differences. So how can you tell somebody to eat 6 to 8 ounces of that food, right? One day if I decide to eat ground turkey, the next day I decide to eat salmon, my fats are going to be like way out of whack, right? For the most part, the carbs were going to be the same, but my fats and proteins were going to be completely different every single day, unless I was eating the same thing every day. Right? So there wasn't a lot of explanation, and when you would ask questions, you really wouldn't get many answers back. So that's what triggered me to go and start researching and learning all of this on my own, understanding how macros work. What do carbs, fats, proteins do in the body? How are they digested? What does your body utilize first as an energy source? Those types of things, right? I started figuring those things out and applied that knowledge to myself, started to see real results, my body completely changing, started coaching at a very, very limited basis. I think I was charging like $35 a plan, like for like 6 weeks.
Let me get that.
I know, right?
Let me get that.
Let me get that. Let me get that, homie. Let me get that.
Where would I sign up?
Let me get that homie discount.
No kidding. I'll even tip you.
I felt bad to even charge that amount at that time because I thought to myself, like, this is what I love to do. Like at that time, I'm thinking, of course I get paid to go to work. I hate work. You got to pay me to go there. But what? I'm not going to get paid doing what I love to do, though.
Right.
I mean, now I charge a lot more, right? It's totally different. Yeah. But that's what kind of spawned me to go that direction and get away from the bodybuilding.com stuff or whatever. But that's really what got me committed. And I always tell people, like, the second you start to see results, like, first of all, commit 3 weeks. Just commit yourself to be 100% strict for 3 weeks.
That's 21 days. All right, that's not 15 out of 21 days.
Right.
There are weekends in there. It's
exactly.
21 days.
Exactly. Commit yourself 3 weeks. Let yourself see the progress. And when you see the progress, that's when I feel like the real commitment begins. Because then you're kind of addicted at that point. You're like, oh shit, dude. Like,
and the beginning parts happen real quick too, which is fun.
It can. And everybody's different. But like, it's funny when I show progress to people, and I mean, like, I've got a guy who's in Idaho, and it's funny because every time we start working together and we start leaning him out, like, his changes are so fast. They are so quick. And every time I'm like, dude, Andrew, like, your body is just like, as soon as we start working together, it's like immediate change. Yeah. Immediate change. Like, his waist goes from blocky to Dorito chip shaped. I mean,
is that an official bodybuilding term? Dorito shaped?
Yeah, we all want to be Doritos.
Look
man.
at that Dorito shape fuck up there, man.
No, exactly.
Chisel.
Everybody wants to be a Dorito chip, man. Not a freaking cheesy puff.
Heard that.
But I mean, it's when you start to see those results, that's when it becomes addicting, and you're like, okay, now let me really push, right? And then the results keep coming, and when you see those results, that's what keeps you there. When you think about people that, like the conversation we just had, you go get your plan off bodybuilding.com, you get some stupid workout plan, whatever. 2 weeks into it, you're not seeing results, and you're like, fuck this, I'm out. Why? Because you don't see the results. But when you actually see results, it's what keeps you there. Because people get frustrated, so.
You probably need, I mean, I think this is probably like one of the great parts about having a coach too is 2 weeks in, if you're not seeing results for whatever reason, one, maybe there are results there and you're not seeing them. Yep. Two, maybe you're doing something wrong and you're whatever you're doing needs to be reevaluated. Whether you know it or not, maybe your coach set something up wrong. Maybe I've had people like they'll be like, oh yeah, so I stopped using almond milk and I'm just using regular milk now because it's like the same thing. I'm like, that's if you're counting calories, it's not the same thing, bud. Like, what? No, but like all kinds of little things that like having a coach, having someone there. That's the thing that bodybuilding.com and all those sites don't offer to you. Like I think
you don't have the accountability for one.
Like when I'm down on my luck 2 weeks in, and you're my coach, I can go, Brandon. Like I don't feel like I'm seeing results, and at that point you can.
At that point, I can say, well, how consistent are you? If I don't see results, right?
Dude, I only went drinking twice last week.
Right.
Like
exactly.
It's like, oh, you're like, all right, let's ask some more questions here, right? Like,
right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think, a lot of for example, a lot of people that work with me, they work with me for the accountability factor, right? That's the part that they like, is that they know they have to check in with me every single week.
Do you think anybody doesn't work with you because of that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I remember, like my girl gave me the scenario that she had a coach at one point, and she knew that she didn't want to get coaching until she was 100% ready to really just dive into it and be accountable. Because she knew when she had a coach, she's gonna have to be accountable every single week. She had to check in with this person. She had to let them know, show them pictures, weights, whatever. And why would you waste your money if you're not going to be accountable? Bro, I've had people literally pay for a year in advance and then disappear after 3 months. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, I see that. I see people just like cheating in the gym and stuff. I'm always just like, you're just cheating yourself.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Bro, I have clients that will message me and be like, how's my form look? And I straight up say, not good. Change it.
Yeah.
We need full range of motion. Those are crappy reps. Drop the weight. Leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be, lifting weight that you don't belong even underneath.
People don't like working out with me. A lot of people, because I'll do like again, I'm not a coach, but I'm like, pull weight off the bar. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like they stop. Like you look like an idiot.
Dude, like.
I'm sorry, but like,
if anybody's seen you do rings, I mean, come on. They probably are like. They're like, oh man, he's strong. I gotta like step my game up today.
No, but like, I just checking the ego at the door is a big thing.
It is. It's a huge thing, and I mean, I have to tell myself that sometimes as well. And it's like, there are times that I'm like, all right, I really need to get under some big weight. But then other times I'm like, yeah, but if I'm not performing the rep, what does the weight matter?
Right.
You know what I mean? You just don't have to. I mean, like for example, yesterday I was doing and I can do a lot more weight than this, but I was doing RDLs, and I like doing RDLs with dumbbells a lot.
Okay.
So I was doing RDLs with 85 pounds, which is actually less than I normally use.
Romanian deadlifts for anyone who doesn't know that.
Right, stiff-legged deadlifts. Right, so we're keeping the legs kind of stiff, where the butt moves back. We're getting a stretch on the hamstrings for the glutes and whatnot.
Delightful.
And yeah, it's a great movement. But I was using 85-pound dumbbells. 90s were taken. 90s is what I usually warm up with. I was kind of spent, and I was like, you know what? I really don't want to go any heavier than this today because this 85 actually feels really good. So I'm just going to do super slow reps and just focus on the time under tension and the squeeze, and I'm just going to make it hard. And I did, and I was pretty spent after my sets were done. So I didn't have to go up to 120s, which is what I usually go up to. Like I didn't feel like 120s were necessary. Right. And today my glutes are like they hurt today. So I know what I did worked. So leaving your ego at the door and understanding that like sometimes like going up to that heavier weight isn't the best thing for you. And I see it all the time in the gym. I see guys doing, like with bench press, going halfway down and. Or shoulder press, and they go halfway down, and it's like, dude, drop the weight. And
and I think that's the accountability thing too. Is like because when you go into the gym, like you need to be accountable for yourself, and you need to know what you can perform, right? Like, because again, if you're not accountable for yourself, nobody else is going to be.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, you may have some guy walk up to you and be like, "You're not doing this right," or "You're cheating," or whatever. But like, no one's going to do that for you unless you have someone there.
One of the reasons why I post workout videos is so people can see the form, so they can see how I'm performing the weight, and what is frustrating for me as a coach is when I have guys that see that and then they go and try to mimic the workout, but then they're trying to also mimic the weight or lift more weight and they're not even performing the movement correctly. And I'm like, and they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, does this look like anything I posted? And I mean, that's truthfully, you guys, like, that's my answer. Like, I don't hold back punches. I'm not, I don't know, like, I don't know what nice cartoon character you want to throw on it, you know? I'm not freaking Bugs Bunny over here being super nice to you and telling you, like, oh, yeah, like, you should be doing it like this. Like, nah, man, like, that's not correct.
That's
like,
wrong.
Your form is incorrect. You look like you can't move the weight correctly. You look like you can't control it. So drop the weight, drop your ego, and do it again, you know?
Some people don't like coaches like that.
No, they don't.
They're too real.
Exactly. And, you know, like, I got a guy, military guy, and he's come to me a few different times on his form. And I give it to him straight, and he takes it, and he's gone back to the drawing board and improved and improved and improved. And I can appreciate that client because he has taken things that I've said and applied them. And now when he sends me like his workout videos, or when I see him post them, I'm like, there you go. Exactly. This is much, much better. Good job. You know what I mean? And here's the thing, me being hard on him at first, right? When I'm being hard and giving it to him real, and then when I reach out to him randomly on a post that he posts, not one he sent me,
right,
and I say, this right here, this is good form. Great job. This is fantastic. Way good improvement. I can guarantee you it means more to him when I do that, because I didn't just give him a pat on the back and say, nice job, bro, when he did a half rep of weight that he shouldn't be touching.
And he knows you'll tell him if it's not, too. He's
100%.
Like, this guy, I've had people be like, oh, that's pretty good. And in my head, I'm like, that was terrible. I know that was terrible for him. Yep. Like, it was and I'm like, I don't want to work out with you.
Yeah. I mean, it means more because they know it's real. Because they know that I'm going to give it to them straight. You know, I tell people all the time, like, if you want to work with me, you're going to have thick skin, because I'm not going to just, you know, pat you on the back when you don't deserve it. You know, I've lost clients over it, straight up. I've had people say, you know, I'm not going to work with you because you're too hard, you're too mean, or whatever. And I'm like, hey,
it's what you paid me to do.
I get it. Like, you're not paying me to be your friend, though.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know we've developed a friendship. My clients, like, they truly are like family to me. But I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm not here to give you buddy type of information. You know, it's like this. You go and you compete, and you're standing on stage, and you didn't win, right? You come off stage, and your mom, your dad, your family, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, whoever, they're like, I don't know what the judges were thinking. You look just as good as everybody, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, first of all, no, I did not. I definitely got my ass handed to me today. Thank you, though, for being biased towards me. I'm your son. Of course you're going to think I look better than anybody. But I know for a fact I did not. But thank you. You know, and there's too many people who listen to those types of comments, and then they get in their head and they're like, yeah, I did look better.
I'm the same way too. Like have a special ability to filter that bullshit. Like, you have a realness with yourself too. Like, yeah. I think I'm too hard on myself sometimes, even, you know.
And you know, and
I'm sure you go through that.
Yeah, I think that's the competitive nature of ourselves, is like, we are too hard on ourselves, and that's, again, you know, sometimes you do have to take a step back, and that's the part where I said earlier, where I said sometimes we go back and look at pictures of ourselves a year ago, and we're like, actually, I did look pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
You know, when you were hard on yourself, and I mean, just tons of times I take pictures and videos all the time, right? And I'll go back and look at these pictures, and I'll remember how I felt looking at that video at that time, thinking I looked terrible or like shit. And I'm like, at that moment, I'm like, you know, dude, actually, like, I looked pretty good here.
I think of the flip side too, though. Sometimes you ever look back and you're like I look back at like pictures of like me, like 25, 26, or even like workouts that I have recorded. And I'm like, man, 30-year-old Mason would beat the wheels off of you, little Mason. He would just. But if you look at me in that video too, like, I got all the confidence in the world. Like, yeah. You could have, like, based on my attitude alone, you would have thought I was in the best shape that I could possibly ever be in. And like 5 years later, I'm like, I'd destroy you. I would eat you for lunch. You know?
100%.
Like, you know, so I see the flip sides of it too, which is, you know.
Yeah, it's always important. I think it's important, again, like the conversation we had earlier about, you know, being comfortable in your skin. You should take those moments to reflect on where you are, you know, and be happy with that, you know. But also understand that, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to progress and become better, you know. And so that's why, like, you know, with me, for what I do, whether it be for my own personal self in terms of my own fitness, right? I mean, I'm always pushing to be better, but I'm always looking at myself saying, you know what, I'm not unhappy with the growth that I have, or, you know, I mean, I may not be as lean as I want to be right now, but I'm not unhappy with how I look at this point. You know, I'm not like looking at myself going, wow, you're gross.
I like to think about like a threshold. Like I'm like so like if this is like the best I could look or perform, like, and this is like the lowest like I want to be. Anything below here like means I need to get my shit into gear. Yeah. Anything up here, like, be happy. Like, you don't always have to be here. You won't be there.
Right.
But as long as you stay above your kind of floor,
100%.
You know, because there's times where you know I've fallen off the wagon a couple times, and you know you put on some weight. You go to run a mile. You can only 10-minute mile times or whatever. I'm sure you experienced it.
I left for Miami feeling like I was like, you know what? I'm not like shredded by any means, but I'm not unhappy with this. And if I got to take my shirt off in front of people at a beach party or whatever, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
You know? And then when I left Miami and I got back, I was like, I do not want to go to any pool party right now. There is no freaking way I want to take my shirt off in front of people. You know, so like going to that party that I told you about, that was nerve-wracking for me because it was like, I'm like, thank God I got this blazer on. You know, eventually the blazer came off, but you know, like I agree, there is that threshold that, you know, I feel like we should all want to stay above. You know, and then it goes like, you can even say things like, you know, in relationships, you know, you should always want to look good for your person.
Right.
Like, don't let yourself, you know, fall off the wayside. Don't let yourself get too comfortable.
No, yeah.
You know, like, we're all replaceable, bro. Like,
absolutely, yeah. Like,
so,
like I think one of the best kind of workout things that like I've ever heard is someone was like, they're like, why do you want to work out? And someone was like, well, everyone wants to look good naked, right?
Yeah.
Like, does anyone have a no to that? Is anyone like, nah, I'm cool with looking not as awesome naked? Like, everyone wants to look better naked.
I mean, let's think about this for a sec, okay? You meet a girl, right? Or, you know, guy, that's your thing. But I mean, like, you meet somebody that you're interested in,
sure,
right? And, you know, like, you go home with them or they come home with you. What do you want them to see when you take your clothes off?
Right, yeah.
Like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, you know, like, I mean, if you take your clothes off and they look at you and they're kind of like, turned off,
right, yeah,
that's not good.
It doesn't go up from there.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, at that point, it's over for you.
Well,
and
that's kind of like the first step in attraction too. So say whatever you want, looks are shallow, blah 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 blah.
It really is though.
But like, why does a guy walk up to a girl and start talking? Why at a bar, at a gym, at a whatever?
Why is a girl attracted to a guy?
Right, and you see it all over the animal kingdom, right? Like like certain like birds have certain feathers, like, and that they're now like the king bird, and all the other birds want to be with that bird. Well, that guy's got a great physique. All the girls want to be with him.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
You know?
I'm reading a book right now. And it talks about physical attraction and genuine attraction, and they're two different things, but they're both chemical based.
You can't have one without the other. Well, I think successfully, I don't think you can have one without the other.
Here's the thing: the physical attraction comes first, always.
Always. Has to.
Always. You know, a girl doesn't look at a guy and go, "He looks like he has a great personality." Like.
And then develops a lust for his body.
Right, that's just not the way that it works. A girl looks at a man and thinks, wow, he is dressed well. He has a physique. He has nice hair, his face, whatever, right? Same thing with a guy. The guy sees a girl, you know, and he's like, wow, she has legs. She has a butt. Like,
right.
Whatever, you know, whatever it is, whatever he's attracted to. It's always that physical attraction, and then there's the genuine attraction and how you see them as a person, right? If they're kind, if they're polite, if they're super rude, you know. I mean, women like alpha males. They don't really like beta males, you know. And so women are attracted to confidence, you know, and how you hold yourself, how you talk, how you walk. Like, there's those types of attractions. And the thing of it is that, again, none of that is a choice. You don't get to choose that. You don't get to choose who you're attracted to.
Yeah, I've never been like, I want to be. Actually, I've wanted to be attracted to someone, and I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you said you find someone who is good looking, like, and you're like, that's step number one, they're attracted. Then you get to know them genuinely, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're like you're not even attractive anymore.
Right. Physical attraction's gone.
Yeah. Physical attraction's gone at that point even.
All of that is not even a choice. It's literally something that is just there or not.
It's like when you fall in a relationship, you're like, I want this to work. You can't. If you can't make it work, like your brain's not gonna.
Yeah, you're either physically attracted, you're either genuinely attracted, or you're not.
I've never thought about like how it's not a choice. Like as you said it, I'm like, duh. But,
yeah, it's
like,
not. It's never a choice. And us as guys, a lot of times when it comes to the situations, we feel like that we can like totally win them over by doing all these things. Like, I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot here, but like I totally like write my girl like notes, and like little letters and little poems and shit like that.
Ooh, take a note, boys. There you go.
But like we think that by doing that, it's gonna make them fall in love with us more, or it's gonna make them more genuinely attracted to us. When in fact it doesn't. That does not increase the genuine attraction. It may be something they like about us,
right,
but it doesn't make them more genuinely attracted or physically attracted to us. It's just something that we do that they might like.
Hey, well, I think you have 40 years of you. Mm-hmm. You can try and change it and cover it up as much as you want, but at a certain point, like it's all gonna come leaking out, and they're gonna see it all, and like
100%.
Like, and again, there's nothing that Brandon can do to change that. Like, if you don't like his headstrong mentality of like go, get shit done, like probably not the right guy for you.
Or if you don't like my lazy laissez-faire mentality,
the ability to flip the switch.
Where I'm just like, I just want to chill and not do anything for like a couple weeks and just relax. If that bothers you, whereas like when Sundays come around and I'm like, you know what, I kind of just don't want to do anything today or this weekend. I just want to chill, and if that like. If I get comfortable doing that for a couple weeks and that's something that bothers you, then it is what it is, Yeah. But again, like you said, you're going to be who you are, and you either have those attractions for that person or you don't, and that's just the way that is. A lot of guys, like I said, we think that taking them to an expensive dinner, showing them a good time is going to all of a sudden spark something. And don't get me wrong, those things can spark. There can be things that happen in those moments that make them more physically attracted to you.
They're a catalyst.
And but I mean relying on those things and and here's the thing too is typically those things are just a Band-Aid for the inevitable.
I think you can see it too. Like I think the greatest example is when you go, how did that guy get that girl in a way? Because like I've seen dudes that are like super awesome looking, got a great job, great house, but like they're just weird, like real weird. They can't hold a relationship. But some slightly chubby guy with a beard and a funny smile, and he's just the funniest dude in the room.
Gets
every time he walks in,
super hot chick, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, a lot of that has to do with the fact of like how he carries himself. He's more alpha than beta. He's just more of a man. He's masculine,
right? Because all that stuff that we talked about doesn't matter. Like,
dude, I again, this totally goes with this book that I'm reading, and it's so interesting because, we're so socially conditioned to looking at, like, think about love story movies, right? You think about those movies where the nice guy in the beginning has a crush on the popular girl in the school or whatever, right? The girl that's got the great job or
out of his league, quote unquote.
Out of his league, correct, exactly. So he's this nice guy, right? And she goes through this relationship with this bad boy type, and the bad boy type is the kind of guy who's kind of like nonchalant, and nothing really phases him, but she's so attracted to him, and she wants him so bad, so she's chasing after him, and then she realizes he's a complete asshole, and then for some reason out of nowhere she has an epiphany, and all of a sudden the nice guy is the guy she wanted all along, and she's totally in love with him. And then they go on happily ever after, and everybody's like, oh my God, what a sweet movie, everybody's crying. It's all sweet and adorable. But how many times does that ever happen in real life? It doesn't. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen. And we're so socially conditioned to be that way as men that we've kind of lost our masculinity, across the board. And like you said, you see these guys that are just not like, they're not the best looking dude. They maybe have a shit job. How are they landing these girls that are like upper echelon women? How are they getting these girls? And it comes down to how they hold themselves as men. I mean, it's not always money, your job, your success that's going to attract a woman. And here's the thing. This is key. If money and your success and your job is like those three things, if those are like high on a woman's priority list, get rid of her. Get rid of her, 100%. Now, don't get me wrong.
stable job.
I'm
got
not.
shit together.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying that. You know, like from a woman's standpoint, a man that's successful, has his shit together, has good money, right? He's able to do whatever he wants to do, live the life he wants to live. He's not struggling. He's not asking to borrow money. He's not in crazy debt. Things like that. A guy that's got his shit together, has money. I'm not saying those things aren't attractive to a woman. I'm not saying those aren't things that women will want. They probably are what women want because no one wants to like worry about paying bills and not being able to go on vacations and things like that.
But those shouldn't be on the top of the list.
No, to me, a woman who's like, it's funny because this book, it talks about like when you're dating somebody and like on the first initial date, like ask them to go to coffee, ask them to go to bowling, ask them to do something like that, go to a park, right? Because women that typically are only in it for attention, like the author calls them attention whores. And he says things like, you know, like women that are only looking for those types of things, they're not genuinely attracted to you. They might be physically attracted to you, but they're totally using you for what you can give them, something that they can gain from you. And those are the women that you totally want to stay away from because number one, when you ask them to take them to let's go to a park and go on a walk. I got my dog, let's go. And if they're like, let's go to dinner instead. If a girl said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Like I'm not, let's go get coffee. Let's get to know each other. Let's go bowling. You know, like I think one of the first times that my girl and I that we hung out with, and it was her idea to go bowling. Like we were talking about bowling one day, and she said we should go, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And so we went bowling, and that was cool because I got to see how genuinely attracted she was to me and how physically attracted she was to me through that way because there's different cues that they give you, whether they touch you, they give you shit, like those are attractions coming out, But a woman who is so focused on money and how much money you make and and they're asking, well, how much money do you make? And like, let's go to this expensive place. Let's go here. Let's go there. If they're expecting those things, like my girl doesn't expect those things from me. I spoil her as much as I can, but like she doesn't have the expectation of those things. She's not money grubbing or looking for me to pay her way. She completely wants to do things on her own and be an independent woman, and do things the way that she wants to do them from a financial standpoint. She's not looking for a man or me to financially provide for her, and guys that are experiencing that. And I feel like I've heard this horror story here in Vegas a lot, that dating is very difficult here, and it is.
It's terribly difficult.
But a lot of women here are looking for, a sugar daddy.
Yeah, no.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I would love to be a sugar daddy.
But hey, but what's crazy, right? What's crazy is that like they're like super open about it.
Yeah.
Like if you go on any dating app like a Bumble or a Tinder, like there will be some girls that will like literally just say like, here for a sugar daddy. Like I don't put your shirt back on. I'm here for a sugar daddy. Like that's their whole profile. Like,
yeah.
But hey, to that token, there's tons of women obviously who aren't like that.
No, there really are. There's a lot of women out there that are not like that.
It's the voice of the few that speak for many, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole perception with even from a woman's standpoint, because there's a lot of bad guys out there, but there really are a lot of good guys out there too. Yeah. So it kind of goes both ways.
For sure. So wrapping up, I have a couple gym questions for you.
Let's go.
What do you listen to? What's your go-to genre in your headphones? Because I've seen you work out, but you go pretty hard. I mean, I imagine there's not like Kesha's not under there.
No, I'm not listening to Taylor Swift or none of that stuff. I'm such a metalhead. I'm such a metalhead, and my girl, she'll always give me a hard time because, she's. I had her in the car one day, and I'm like, all right, I want you to just listen to something. I said, this is what I listen to, and I just want you to know, like, I'm not an evil person, but this is gonna sound pretty evil.
It could come off pretty evil.
And she goes, oh no, it's fine. I listen to rock, it's all good. I said, no, it's a little bit different, She's like, no, I listen to like Disturbed, and I'm like, yeah, I would kind of throw Disturbed under like the genre of girly rock compared to what I listen to, like, and so it's funny because my barber, I didn't know about this until the first time I went to go get a haircut by him. But I remember when I first found out who he was, I was like, holy crap, you were the lead vocalist of Suffocate like years ago, right? Suffocate's this like big metal band that was around years ago, and so when I found out about that, I was kind of like fanboying for a minute, you know. But he just started his band, his new band, called Of Sulfur, Ovsulfer, I think.
Okay.
And it's funny because I did a screenshot. His song came up when I was in the gym one day, and I screenshot it and I posted on Instagram, and I put like filthy or #filthy or something like that. And it's funny because like his like the album cover is like super demonic.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks evil, you know. I mean,
so is that the song you played for your girl?
No, I can't remember what song I played for. It was some like I was on the way to go pick her up for a date, and I was like jamming out to this, and I don't remember what song it was, but I was jamming out, and I was like, oh my god, this is dope. I'm feeling this, you know. So I got her in the car and I played it for her, and she was like, wow. I was like, what? She goes, well, I mean, like the instrumental is like really great. Like I could probably work out to just the instrumental, but like the screaming part, it sounds so evil. And when she saw my barber's screenshot, she was like, what you listen to is like kind of scary. She's like, it's kind of scary, babe. Like it's like you listen to some evil shit. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like there's some evil stuff going on there. I'm not an evil person, I promise. But I mean, I like all aspects of music, man. I mean, at one point I wanted to be, I was telling her about this because she's a singer, and there was one point that I wanted to be a recording engineer. Like that's what I wanted. I wanted to be in the studio making music, you know, and kind of like with fitness, like I saw how much work was gonna have to go to get to where I wanted to be, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go. I don't want to do that much work.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a completely different level. I mean, like learning music is like learning a different language in the first place. But yeah, so like I'm totally a metalhead, but I love all music, man. I mean, like when I was going through my music phase, I was going to classical concerts. I mean, I was like legit guys playing the cello and the violin, and nobody's singing. It's just instrumental, and I'm literally going to these places listening to this music, because when you start learning how to play things like the guitar or the piano, and you're learning music, you go and you listen to these guys, and you have such an appreciation for their work and understanding that this took years to get to. You know, these guys were, you know...
It looks effortless, but I assure you it's not.
Oh my God, it looks effortless. I mean, you're watching somebody play the cello and you're like, dude, like...
It's only got 4 strings, it's easy,
like,
right?
There's no frets.
Yeah.
How do they know what note they're playing? Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I remember when I was learning how to play guitar, you know, like, thank God there are frets.
Yeah.
You know, like, there are no frets on a cello.
Nope.
So you don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, I love all music, but she gives me a hard time because, like, sometimes whenever I post, like, workout videos, I'll put, like, a metal song on there, and she's like, and then when I put, like, a song that everybody likes, a mainstream song, she's like, finally, you put some good music on there. So, but yeah, I'm definitely a metalhead, man.
What is your favorite form of cardio?
None.
I knew did I write this down? I think I almost wrote it down. I swear you were gonna answer that way.
None, bro. Like if I could not do cardio, it's where I want to be. Like when I'm in the off seasons, and even with my clients in off season, I try to work them to doing no cardio at all. That way, when we throw it back in, the body's shocked and it sees cardio as like more work, and it's fat loss. And you know, I used to really, like when I played a lot of softball, I used to play a lot of competitive softball when I was younger. I used to go in and do sprints before my lift. I wanted to pre-exhaust myself and then go lift. And I just saw that as giving me more of a competitive advantage, because when you play softball, I mean, there are times that you're sprinting before you go up to the plate to hit, you know, and so like, it's just one of those things that like, sometimes you got to pre-exhaust yourself before you go do the explosive movement. So that's why I did that. So I used to do a lot of hit. I don't do any hit anymore.
Yeah.
So
most, but like the cardio I asking you to do is like what, like incline
walking, man.
Dude, that I'll tell you what, it sounds like it's like, oh, walk, just doing a little walk. Incline walk is no joke.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dieting and you're super low body fat, you feel like crap anyways. Then you go to your workout, then you're doing your cardio, and sometimes you're doing cardio for an hour, you're like, this blows. And sometimes you do get exhausted. You're like, the last like 20 minutes, you're like, dude, I feel like I could die right now. you know?
Okay, so sidebar there. Yeah. What kind of thoughts go through your head? Because I hate when people tell me like, oh, well, that's easy for you. I'm like, ugh. Every minute, like whether I'm on a 2-hour bike ride or whatever, like it's a struggle. I got to play games in my head with myself. Like, what do you do when you're like 20 minutes left of cardio and you're like, I'm dead. I could just walk off this right now. I worked out hard enough today. What goes through your head when you have 20 minutes left and you need to finish a set or get through your workout, whether it's cardio or weightlifting? But when you have the ability to walk out that door and kind of the desire to, because you're tired, and you're just.
Here's one thing I can say is there's never been a time that I've been in prep that I've just gone off the treadmill and stopped cardio before it was supposed to be done. Not one time. When I'm in prep. There have been times outside of prep where I've done that because I had this or that or thing to go do or something like that. And I needed to do 40 minutes that day or 30 minutes and I only did 25.
Fair enough.
So I cut out five minutes early. But here's the thing, man, and this really got to me this last, whatever you want to call it, prep, last time I cut last year for the photo shoots that I did, is that every time that I felt like I was dying and I was like, God, dude, today is a struggle. This hurts. I got to do an hour right now and I'm only 20 minutes in and I already feel like crap. And I remember that happened a couple times doing fasted cardio. It happened a bunch of times after my post-workout cardio, things like that. And I would get 20 minutes in and still have 40 minutes to go. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to freaking make it, dude. I feel like I'm going to fall over and die.
So you guys, even professional athletes, literally have this thought.
Yeah, you have the same thoughts. And so, honestly, what I noticed, though, is every time I pushed through those moments, it was the next day or the day after I saw new results. That's the thing so every time that would happen, and I'm like, here we go.
And that feeling.
We're hitting another event where we're going to see changes.
Yeah.
And so that right there was understanding that we can't give up. And the other part of it is too, is understanding that I wasn't prepping for a show or anything like that. But if I were to do a show, if I decided, if my coach was like, hey, we should do one. Okay. Right. Knowing that I'd be stepping on stage, I talked a little bit earlier about stepping on stage next to somebody who doesn't give a fuck about balance. You got to stand next to that guy. Good luck, right? He didn't quit, guaranteed. There wasn't a time that he got off the treadmill earlier. He probably trained harder than you, maybe, right? My mindset has always been this. I don't have the best genetics, and I know that, 100%. I don't have the best genetics.
Thank you for saying that. Because if I hear one more person effing say that they don't have the right genetics for this or that, I'm like, maybe not to be a professional bodybuilder, you know the genetics, but you have the genetics to work out and eat healthy.
Yeah, I don't have the best genetics, but despite not knowing that I don't have the best genetics is what keeps me training and achieving things at an elite level.
Is that a chip on your shoulder too? Because you mentioned earlier, some of these guys, they can go from 0 to 100 in a couple years, and it's just they are genetically gifted on a different level,
right?
And you're you got to put it in.
I saw a video the other day. The Rock was talking to, I can't remember who he was talking to. I can't remember if it was a college team or professional team, but he was like, the one thing that keeps me going is you're not gonna fucking outwork me.
I tell people all the time, you beat me, good job, but you won't outwork me.
You're not gonna outwork me, right? And he's like, I love you guys, but you motherfuckers ain't gonna outwork me. No. And here's my outlook on this, okay? I can say all day that no one's gonna outwork me, but I know that there are people that will outwork me. Realistically, there are people that will. But what keeps me pushing even harder than I can go is knowing that I have to work harder than the guy who has crazy genetics to achieve half of his results. So I am, in my mind, going to outwork him. I'm going to push harder. I'm going to diet harder. He's not going to do everything that I do, right? When I do cardio on the treadmill, I'm also doing stomach vacuums in intervals, at intervals. I don't know any motherfucker who does that.
I know, but you said, I was like, oh, wow.
So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I am going to outwork people, but I am going to outwork myself every single time. I'm going to push myself beyond what my genetic potential is going to be.
I have that same thought. Like, if I don't get the result that I plan to get, it won't be because I didn't work hard enough.
And that's the point.
You know,
that's the point. It's like, coaches, when I was in high school and wrestling, they would tell us things like, if you leave it all on the mat and you still lose, you have no one to be like, you don't have any reason to be disappointed. You left it all on the mat. You worked your ass off.
There's literally nothing you could have done if that's true. And there's a lot of people that I think that internalize that and kind of lie to themselves and say, I did do everything. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I was with you both those weekends. I was with you 2 weekends you didn't
100%. I remember I wrestled a kid years ago. It was my senior year. And I was making my way through this tournament. And it was the first tournament of the year. And I was doing really well. And I get up against this kid from Palmer. And Palmer's known for, their coach was real good, college-level type coach. In fact, after I graduated, he left that school and went coach, I think, at like Oregon State or something like that, or Oklahoma or something like that. Big name college, right? Big wrestling program. But I wrestled this kid, and we were real tight. We were wrestling each other really, really well. He wasn't overly strong. He wasn't really stronger than me at all. He wasn't more technical than me. He wasn't a better wrestler than me. And I was beating him, and I got caught in a spladle. And a spladle, I shot in for a double leg single, and I was trying to turn it into a fireman's carry, and then work it into a double leg, and then that was my goal. But when I shot in, I got in real deep. My head got stuck on the inside of his leg, and when my head got stuck on the inside of his leg, what a spladle is my right leg is right here. He reached over, grabbed the inside of my right leg, pulled it, and then just sat back. And my head sticks right here.
Yeah.
And he rolls me over, and then he takes his other leg and he wraps it around my left leg. So now he's got me they call it a spladle because it's kind of like a split. It's a spladle split cradle.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now he's got me in a spladle. I'm on my back. I can't even get out of it. He pins me. He wins. I was so pissed. I was beyond furious.
You still seem like there's a little something there still.
I would get that match back in a hurry if I could. So I think a week later, we're going to we had some dual meets in Palmer and Colony and in Wasilla, which are 3 schools that are all right next to each other. And I knew I was going to see this kid again, and I was fired up for it, man. And I could remember I'm listening to some Rage Against the Machine. I got some Soundgarden going in there, and I'm just old school rock, right? And I'm like pacing back and forth, and the wrestler in front, the kid that was I think it was a 112 pounder, he was getting beat by their guy. We were having a dual meet against Palmer, and I was about to wrestle this kid again. And the thing of it is like I'm pacing back and forth, and I'm angry, and I'm like spitting out cuss words, and my whole team's like, what the F is wrong with Brandon, dude? I'm just like fired up. And I get on the mat, and we shake hands, and they blew the whistle, and I just tore this kid apart. I ended up teching him. And a tech fall means that like you beat him by 14 points. I went out there to make him look stupid.
You no-run ruled him. You literally
basically, like I went out. I was like I would take him down. I would get 3 near fall points after that. That's a 5-point move. And then I would let him up. And that was 5-1. And then I would do it again. And I would do it again. And I would do it again. And so like my goal was to just make him look stupid. I didn't want to pin him. I wanted to tech fall him and embarrass him in front of his home because we were in Palmer.
Yeah.
And so it was great because I had beaten the kid from Colony the night before, then went to Palmer and just ruined this kid. And so the point of that story is like, I took that loss, and that stuck with me, and all I wanted to do was right that ship, and go back and put forth the best effort that I could. Going back and looking back at that, he probably was a better wrestler than I was. He had been wrestling longer. He had the better coach. Technically, he probably had more gifts, more talents.
Intangibles?
Yeah. But for me, it was more like I didn't see him as being better than me. You know what I mean? Like he would beat guys that I wouldn't beat. And like what's funny is I lost to his JV guy at one point during the season, and he would kill his JV guy. Obviously, he was the varsity guy, But I mean, like, I didn't think that he was better than me. Right. Like I was like, you know, just like somehow sometimes I see some of these guys and I'm like, yeah, they're good and they're phenomenal, but I think I'm better, you know? And so like sometimes you have to like, there is a realistic aspect of thinking of knowing like when you're not better than someone, but knowing that if you really put the work in and you understand that it's not just about like, if you only put in this amount of work, here's your ceiling. But if you put in this amount of work, where's your ceiling going to be? And that's what's like always kind of kept me fresh and kept me pushing harder in all aspects of life. Understanding that like, okay, I've done well with this business. What if I do this now? What if I push harder this way? What if I decide to do this endeavor with my business? What happens now? Where am I at? So it's just a matter of like realizing like what your potential is and realizing that like it's okay to kind of put yourself on the lower totem pole and saying like, okay, maybe my genetics aren't the best. Maybe I didn't have the best. You know, you have some parents that really push their kids at young ages, you know, like my mom was like, whatever, man, like you're my son, you're amazing, do whatever you want to do. I love you, you know. She's a great mom, you know, and she gave me a great life growing up, you know, but I was never really like pushed hard, you know, to like thrive, you know, strive for the best or be the, you know, what I was never like pushed in those directions. But like as I got older, I see my potential and I'm like, all right, I feel like I can be great at this, I can be great at that. Maybe these guys had, you know, better genetics physically. Maybe these guys had a better upbringing and their parents really pushed them to do this. But like, what if I pushed that much harder? Where can I be? And I think that's what's got me to where I am today. You know, like there's not a lot of, I mean, there are a lot of coaches that are out there, a lot of trainers that are out there that do well, not discrediting any of that. But there are a lot of coaches and trainers that don't do well, that don't understand what to do or how to make money, how to facilitate the life that they want. And I think the difference between me and them is that I've been able to see that it takes real effort. You know, you've got to really put effort into yourself and being honest with yourself and where you're at.
It's cool to see that come like so full circle for you, because like I think like most people would probably look at like your life and say like it's full circle around fitness, but I think it's really more full circle around like your mindset. Like most people think it's like fitness and then he built his mindset around that. I think it's more like your mindset brought you to fitness. Your mindset is why you're successful in fitness.
100%.
Fitness is not why you have a strong mindset.
Dude, everybody thinks you turn pro and all of a sudden the sponsors come out of nowhere, and because you have IFBB Pro next to your name, that everybody wants to work with you and you're going to be this well-known coach. Dude, I got a news flash for everybody who thinks that turning pro all of a sudden changes everything. It doesn't change a fucking thing. I know guys in Utah that are not pros, that are phenomenal in business, that do well, that have a huge clientele base as trainers and coaches. And they don't need IFBB Pro next to their name. They've just learned how to work hard and create a business. You know what I mean? And they saw a life that they wanted and they didn't give up and they just kept pushing.
That IFBB tag is just a tool.
It's a tool.
It's not the answer.
It's a tool, man. It's not why I'm successful. Yeah, it allows me to compete at an elite level with very elite competition.
Accolades never hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to be part of it. I'm very grateful for the NPC and the IFBB and because they have given me a platform, you know, but it has been up to me.
Because you don't generate any revenue by just being a pro, right?
Definitely
like,
not.
They're not like, well, since you got your card, we give you $50K a year. Like,
it doesn't work that way.
You
wish.
Do you have to like pay to like renew your stuff or to maintain it? Actually,
you've got to pay $225 a year.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't even get paid. He pays up. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Brandon Hendrickson, Mr. Olympia for men's physique, I think his paycheck was like $35,000 for winning the Mr. Olympia, you know, maybe $40,000 or something like that. And I mean, that's. I mean, if that's the only money you're counting on, yikes, man.
And I hope, yeah, and that shows you that these guys don't do it for money. Mm-hmm. Like,
don't get me wrong, Mr. Olympia, bodybuilder, I think like $400,000.
One guy in the whole sport.
Yeah. You know, and I think the next guy might have got like 200 or something.
And then it
starts getting less and less and less. Okay, but the thing of it is, it's like, yeah, that can facilitate a lot. Don't get me wrong, I mean, if you made 80K winning one show a year, and you won 80K, that's not bad.
Yeah.
You probably made some money elsewhere. You know what I mean? And those guys are probably doing well. And those guys are very, very, very well known, in the industry. I myself am not one of those guys. I'm not well known based off of that. If I'm known, it's because of my clients. It's because of social media. It's because of people I run into and meet and things like that.
Absolutely.
That's it, man. That's the only thing that gets me by in this era. Like nothing else gets me by. I'm not making money off of being a bodybuilder.
Right.
It just doesn't. It's not. But I'm one of the few that's been able to find a way to monetize it.
Yeah, which is sweet.
And do well with it. You know what I mean? My goal is to, be a known coach.
But you've doubled down, like you said, someone offered you a job, basically a job, and you were like, I'm gonna reinvest back into myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I considered, and
that's that's something that shouldn't be taken lightly either,
right. I mean, the thing of it is, I could have taken the easy way, right? I could have said, okay, let's go do this job, all right? And the pay wasn't great, but the future pay could have been better. And beyond that, it could be better, and I would still have my business. But the thing of it is, we both know this. If I would have done that, right, and taken that job, my business is going to falter. Or that's going to falter and my business is going to do better. One of the two are going to go down.
It's not a good situation for somebody involved.
And quality of life would have been horrible. And the thing of it is that job was a management position. I would have been putting forth 50, maybe 60 hours a week at that job. Why not take that and put that back into my business, right? I've already proven that I can make a lot more in a couple of days than I would in a month at that job. You know what I mean? So I should just focus more in the business. And that would have been the easy route because that's consistent pay and whatever. And I could probably do that job with my eyes closed. But I would rather do something that is something that I love, for one. And two, like, this as a business owner, there's something gratifying knowing that you created something, and you created something that you love to do. It makes money. It facilitates a life that you want to live. You can provide for people that you care for, right? And you love and you want in your life. I mean, there's those aspects of creating this business, and I'm, like I said, my goal is to, like, my coach is a very, very well-known coach around the world. I would love to be in his position, but I also, like I said earlier, I have this goal of wanting to also coach other people in this aspect and start like this apprenticeship program where I'm helping other coaches, create their business, because we had this pandemic hit, and what did people do? They were like trying to train people at parks and train people in their garage, but ultimately people were losing money, and looking for unemployment and things like that.
You're going to crush that.
And I just think that would be a really cool thing to show people that, look, you don't have to be a slave to the trainer to being a trainer in the gym. You may be something that you love to do. I don't know. Right. I'm not taking that away from people. But when I talk to coaches and I tell them how much I work and how much money I make, they're like, what the fuck am I doing? And I mean, that's usually the reaction that I get.
They'll become a better coach too.
Yeah.
When you're not working at Lifetime Fitness using their standard procedures and everything they have to use.
Well, and then you're
building your own program.
You have some of the other coaches out there that are independent contractor coaches, right? I mean, like Jason, right?
Sure.
Proto, like, he does his own thing. He doesn't have to follow Proto's guidelines. And I know a bunch of other coaches that are doing the same thing. But again, it comes down to the time,
and you just limit yourself with the people in your area.
Yeah, I mean, like the last podcast that I was on, my boy Damien, he's just getting into personal training and coaching. And one of the things that he asked me, he was like, I'm trying to pick your brain and figure things out. He's like, because you're coaching people online, you're not face to face with anybody. And I mean, every once in a while, I'll get somebody who needs posing coaching for a show. And I'll sit down and I'll have to go meet them for posing. And that's fine. But to me, like, I love it. Like, I'm helping somebody look better.
Especially probably the posing aspect stuff.
Yeah, because I'm helping them present their physique.
That's like the higher end of the bodybuilding stuff.
Right.
And let's sit down and talk about your carbs.
Right. It's one of the things that I love to do, because you can help somebody, like, you see what they look like before, and then you see what they look like after. Before posing and then after posing coaching. And it's such a gratifying thing, because you see this person being able to present their physique better than what they did before they met you. And I love that aspect of it. It's not even work to me, it's fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't have a ton of that, and I don't have to utilize that to make money. I don't. It's just another aspect of my business that I offer on a very limited basis.
Just another stream, yeah, for sure, yeah.
But I mean, again, to be able to help people, that's the big thing. That's the thing. That's the key, is being able to help people. That's what I love, man, is being able to help people and get people to a better place.
And I think in the fitness world, it's the easiest, hardest thing. I say it's the hardest thing because it's hard to get through to people, like how easy it is, really. Like, but it's so many people just don't have the right foundation to start with. They're so lost. They're just I've heard people who just when I started working out, like when I was 21, 22, literally, we'd go to the gym. We'd come home, and me and my roommate would eat chicken breast, rice, and Bud Light.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. I was eating chicken breast. I just thought it was cool. I thought it was good. In my heart, I thought, and a lot of people will probably think that, and maybe that's a really extreme example, but I mean, there's things like that where it's just they just need someone who knows what they're doing, who actually cares.
Or they diet, they eat, chicken, rice, and broccoli all week long, some egg whites, some oats. They don't really measure anything. They just eat, right? And then they get to the weekend and they go eat whatever they want and they party and they do whatever they want to do. Again, spinning your wheels at that point, because you're not really tracking anything. You don't know how much you're putting in your body. I always tell people, I know for some people, they see tracking the food and weighing it out as monotonous, but my thing is that's stupid if you look at it that way. You're taking a plate and you're putting food on it, right? You have to put food in the bowl or on the plate, correct?
Right.
Okay. So it's really easy to just take the plate before you put anything on it, put it on a scale, zero it out, check how much chicken you're putting in there, broccoli, whatever.
I've never
rice.
even heard anybody describe it how you're, because you're zeroing out the scale after each piece of food you put on there.
Yeah, it's so simple. But my thing is and I always tell people this, when they're losing weight, right? I always ask them, do you know what kind of weight you're losing? You're gaining weight. You know what kind of weight you're gaining? When guys are I've gained 20 pounds of lean mass, and I'm how do you know that?
Yeah.
How do you know it's lean mass? First of all, it's almost impossible.
It's only been 6 months too, there, Holmes.
Yeah, it's almost impossible for one. Two, if you're not tracking anything, then you have no clue what you're losing or gaining.
Right.
So please track. But I tell people tracking is the easiest thing you can do, and once you're used to it, it's clockwork. It's something that's normal.
So would you say that it almost, I don't say it doesn't make sense, but it's very detrimental to your fitness goals to go I go to the gym and my diet's not as important?
Oh, you can never out-train a bad diet, man. It just doesn't. I know that's a cliche statement, but it's the truth. You can't out-train a bad diet.
I would rather see you eat clean and not go to the gym than go to the gym and eat bad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't take my advice when I was in Miami. Like I said, I lived off of strawberry margaritas and tacos the whole time I was there. Ooh. And I mean, when I got back, I was posting some gym selfies, and I was I think I posted something physique built on strawberry margaritas.
I say the physique when you get back from Florida,
you know what I mean? And it's funny because I hear it from other people, and they're yeah, but you figured out a way to look how most people want to look all the time, and I'm okay, that's fine, but I also...
Did you figure it out, or did you just stick to a plan, or stick to a consistent...
Yeah. I mean,
they know how to do it.
I have learned things with my physique that I can kind of, as long as I eat fairly clean all week long, I can kind of do what I want to do on the weekends. I have learned how to maintain the look I have right now doing that, which has given me a really nice quality of life because I'm enjoying life right now. I'm having fun.
It's taking you a decade to do that, though.
But it's taken me a long time to figure that out.
Nobody do this for 6 months and be I know how my body reacts.
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
And that's the thing. It's 6 months in, unless you're a genetic freak, it's hard to figure out what to do and live in that mindset of let me do whatever I want to do on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody has the ability to do that.
Flip the switch and get back to it on Monday.
I have clients that exactly, and that's the hardest part is then when you get back to Sunday or Monday when the week starts over again, and you're like, oh,
sugar's a hard habit to kick.
it totally is.
God,
dude.
It's a drug.
It's the word. It really is. Though.
It's 100% a drug.
It's very hard to kick it, especially if you're like me. Like I love donuts, and I will annihilate a box, dude.
I would say sugar. I think sugar is worse than alcohol. Only because of the frequency of use.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
it's very difficult to stop it. You can totally like your taste buds change. People don't understand, like bodybuilders, their condiments are mustard and ketchup. I know so many bodybuilders that will put mustard and ketchup together on every piece of food item. They'll put it on broccoli, they'll put it on chicken, they'll put it on ground turkey, ground beef, whatever. And people will look at you like, what the fuck are you eating? And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is delicious. Because you've been eating this for so long, your taste buds have changed. This flavor profile is delicious to you.
Yeah.
And then you'll go through one weekend of eating whatever under the sun, donuts, Cheesecake Factory, In-N-Out, and you'll come back the next week, and that mustard and ketchup flavor profile is disgusting. It doesn't even, you're like, this is gross. I don't even want ground turkey anymore. Like this, I don't want chicken. Ugh, this is nasty. And it's so hard to get back to that. So that's why it's important to not annihilate your weekend doing those things. You know, there's that aspect. But then the other part too is like when we eat, 7,000 calories over the weekend, please understand something. There's no other place for those calories to go to but body fat. The whole adage of, refeeds are going to restart your metabolism and kick your metabolism is not true. You're not boosting your metabolism in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
Over time, eating more food, yes, you can move your metabolism up, and you're not going to go over a 1 or 2 day period and smash 10,000 calories. And if you expect you're not going to gain body fat from that, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I mean you're literally changing a whole entire like metabolic body process. You're not going to do it a day. Like,
no, it doesn't work that way.
I
always tell guys.
That's like saying you're going to get like taller over the weekend. You're like, if I can't dunk a basketball now, maybe Monday I will be able to.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. It's important to understand that like we can't go. That's why I rarely give out cheat meals to people, and people are like, well, I'm going to get a cheat meal. And I'm like, go find another coach if that's what you want. Like, I'm not here to give you cheat meals. I'm here to push you past your potential and bring out potential you didn't even know that existed. But like I had a guy, wanting to do, he lost a bunch of weight. And I said, hey, let's get you a cheat meal. What are you craving? He's like, I'm not sure yet. And I was like, well, let me know a couple days before, like a day before you want to do the cheat meal. We'll figure it out. So he's like, hey, what about sushi? And I was like, done. Let's do sushi. He was like, okay, cool. Yeah. He's like, and he's done cheat meals with me before. But he's like, how much? And I said, bro, at this point, we don't have a show for a while for you. I said, so I'm not really concerned about how much food, but what I don't want is I said, it's one meal. It's in one sitting.
It's a cheat meal.
Right.
Not a cheat day or weekend.
I'm not wanting him to eat that meal and then binge 3 hours later on something else. I said, eat your meal. You can have maybe a dessert item right afterwards, but eat until you're full. Do not eat until you're completely freaking stuffed. Eat until you're full and then be done. You know what I mean? Get a good amount of food in, call it a night, and what's cool is the next day the dude woke up 0.6 pounds lighter.
I agree with that so much. Like I like how you so many trainers they have set cheat days and stuff, and people are like, I'm looking forward to my cheat day or my cheat meal. And I'm like, I hate that. Like I would say I'll eat it if I want to.
Yep.
That way I don't feel pressured. I'm never desiring. I never feel like I'm missing out on anything. I'm always like.
You have to be careful because you really will create a really bad relationship with food, and that's what happens to a lot of bodybuilders. And I think that I think it's cool to have a day. Like sometimes my girl and I will have we'll be like, hey, Saturday let's go on a date. We'll do a cheat meal. So it does give you something to look forward to, and I think that that's perfectly normal. What I think is not normal is when your whole focus throughout the whole week is on food and the fact that you want this donut or that.
That's okay. I hate this. For Friday, I got cake.
I can't wait. I'm looking at Instagram and all these food things. And look, I've been there. I've been that guy. I've done that. But that is the worst relationship with food. You're creating a bad relationship with food at that point.
You're gonna fall off the wagon. You're gonna fall off hard.
Here's the thing. My question is if you're constantly thinking about the freaking donuts or pastries or whatever it is, ice cream that you want to eat, why the fuck are you doing this? Why? What's the point? You're not enjoying this process then. You're focused on how painful this is, how much it sucks, and how bad you want to eat this.
You're doing this so that you can do that.
Here's the thing. And this is gonna offend people when I say this. And here's the thing. People that know me know that I don't give a fuck about that. You don't belong here. If that's your focus, you don't belong here. Like, please understand, people that are listening. If you are a competitor and you are constantly focused on the food and you're constantly focused on that cheat meal that you're going to get, listen, I think it's okay to look forward to a cheat meal, to look forward to that high carb day that's coming up. But if you're constantly focused on the donut, the pizza, the burrito,
to the point where people notice it in your conversation.
Yeah, and it's all you can think about. You're not focused on the training. You're not focused on how shredded you're getting, how much better you look, what it's empowering you to do, what it's doing to you mentally. If you're not focused on those things, but you're focused on the food and how painful this is and how much this sucks and blah, 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 and how bad you want the burrito or donuts at the end of the week, or all the fucking box of cookies that you are hoarding in your fucking pantry because this is what you get to eat when the show's over, if that's what your focus is, you don't belong here. Period. Quote from me, like 100%, and I mean that. And here's the thing: it doesn't mean you can't change, but that's just the way I look at it. You don't belong here.
But you need to change before you decide to do that. Right? Like, you need to have that mindset coming into it.
Look, the reason I can say this is because I've been this person. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be only focused on the food, and I'm going to tell you right now, if that's what you're constantly focused on, I promise you, 100%, I know this, you are not giving your all to the prep, to the diet, to the meal prep, to being focused on the task at hand, to what your goal is. Your mindset at that minute is no longer what it was in the very beginning. At the very beginning, your mindset was, I want to fuck people up. I want to win the show.
I want to walk on stage and smash people.
Exactly.
Where did that guy go?
I want to walk on stage and smash people. Like, I want people to see me and be like, well, fuck this, I'm out. Right? That was your mindset. You wanted to beat everything you've ever done, and now your mindset is, oh my God, donuts, cookies, Oreos. Oh my God, look at the new Oreos that just came out, and blah, 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 and all this pastry, this, that. Come on, man. Like, your mindset is now completely different, and you're so focused on the things that you don't and cannot have, and you no longer enjoy the training. And the thing of it is that you're not even giving your all anymore. I promise you, you're not giving your all. Guaranteed, you're not giving your all. Yep. And I can say that because I know what it's like to be in that mindset. Mm-hmm. And I would tell myself the same thing. You guys, you guys might think I'm weird, but like, I've legit had conversations with myself in a mirror and like pointed at myself and cussed at myself and been like, Brandon, pull your fucking head out, man. Because like, seriously, you don't fucking belong here, bro. And that's the way I look at it. You know, like, I'll tell myself those same things. Nobody's perfect. As much as I'm saying what I'm saying right now, I have my moments where I'm looking at the food and I'm like, fuck, I really want this right now. It is a struggle, but you have to be able to pull yourself back and say, no, I have this goal. This is what I'm doing. Fuck the food. I remember she's an ex-Miss Olympia figure competitor, I believe. And they asked her, what's the one thing that you crave the most? And they were talking about food. Like, what's the one thing you crave the most when you're in prep? And she goes, winning.
That's the answer.
That's the answer, dude. So I feel like, people, they right now competing is so popular. So everybody wants to compete. But then all of a sudden everybody's like so into food and like, oh my God, I want this food. I want this. And don't get me wrong, I know what that's like. And my girl was just giving me a hard time about it this week. She's like, I've never met somebody who can put as much food as you away. Like, I've never met someone just like you that can do that. Like, she's like, I thought that I cheated, but like when you cheat, it's like, holy fuck, that's a lot of food. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, sometimes my relationship with food is a little bit different with people. Like, I'm looking at things like, well, this is the last time I'm going to eat this stuff. I'm going to eat as much as I can. And yeah, sometimes I put myself in a really bad place physically. I don't feel good.
But you know how to get out of it physically too.
But I know how to get out of it physically and mentally. Yeah.
And you have the self-realization, like you said, to be able to look in the mirror and go, all right, I fucked up a little bit. Time to get back on it. Here we we're done with this. That was a cool week. Back to life.
Yeah, and I mean, you won't find anything in my house. Like if I have the potential to binge on it, almond butter. If I'm binging on almond butter, it's out.
Everybody, throw away your peanut butter right now.
Yeah, I mean, no, like legit.
I legitimately, yeah. You know. Here's what I say. It's so calorically dense.
Yep.
And it fits in your freaking hand perfectly.
Yep.
And I mean, how many spoonfuls have turned into full jars? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, same. I make the joke all the time, and it's really not a joke. But I mean, there have been a couple different times where I've woken up and there's an empty jar of peanut butter next to me, and I'm like, "The fuck happened?" You know, because it's like I blacked out.
Bags of granola. I don't buy granola. You can see a direct correlation between the amount of granola that I buy and my leanness. Like, if I'm looking a little like not as lean, you'd probably like, oh, I got some. You want granola shopping this week, eh? Because I buy like a 3-pound bag, and that thing goes down in like
pretty much, dude. And I'm the same way. I'm like that with protein bars. Don't put a bags of tomato basil rice cakes in my pantry because I will smoke those. And
I'll show you my pantry. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I probably will.
I have no temptation in there.
That's what I'm saying. It's if there's anything in your kitchen, in your pantry, that's something that you could binge on. You know, it's one of the things that you just gotta get rid of it, man. Like,
I love people like, no, it's okay. I got self-control, and I'm like, oh, no, you don't. Like you're telling yourself that.
Yeah, sometimes your body takes over, and it's hungry, and one piece of bread turns into a loaf of bread.
But it's literally like I don't think people realize it's a hormone that's released in your body. I think it's called ghrelin.
Yeah, ghrelin.
Ghrelin. Yeah. And I mean, it really it's your body going, you're hungry, eat, or you could die because we may not be able to eat tomorrow because there could be out of food. There's food in there. Eat now, and your body literally takes over, and that's where this thing. Really,
dude.
And I'm sure you know about going to bed hungry. How many times have you woken up in the middle of the night, walked to get food, and just stood there and been like, "No, go back to bed."
You know, I don't even try. I try not to even get up. Like last night, I was really hungry. I woke up at 3 a.m, mainly because my legs hurt. But then I was like, "Damn, I'm starving right now," and I was like, "I do have some rice cakes downstairs. I could make a sandwich. I could do some rice cakes." I got a protein bar right after that. That'd be a great like little meal with dessert. I was like, nah, just go back to bed. Yeah. It's cool. You know, but like it's you do have to have that restraint, and people ask me all the time like, how do you do that? And I'm like, you know, honestly, I know that when I'm again back to what I said earlier about the cardio, when you have those moments where it feels like a struggle, you know, when you get past that moment, you're gonna see results after that.
But you do struggle.
100%.
And that's I hate when people are like, okay, it's easy. You're a pro. It's easy.
I hate that. I hate that, bro. I hate that when people are like, yeah, but you've been doing this for a long time. You're a pro. Like,
it's just that much harder.
Like, okay, that because we're not human beings. I'm confused. Like, I'm not a robot. You know, like we're humans, and I'm gonna struggle just as much as anybody else. It comes down to how disciplined you're gonna be. You know, like how disciplined, how bad do you want it? You know, and I mean, for a while I had a little whiteboard on my fridge. For a while, I literally, like on the fridge, I put, how bad do you want it? And every time I would feel like I wanted to cheat, and I would go to the fridge, and I would see that. I'm like, yeah, good reminder. Yeah. So sometimes you got to put up sticky notes to remind yourself, because sometimes you do forget. There are times that I'm like, that I've binged, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I've done that too, just in the moment, just, you know.
I tell you what, there was a show I did, after my first show in 2019, I did a show in San Diego. And I thought it'd be really cool to go pick up my daughter and have her come down. We were going to do the whole peak week in California at my parents' house because my parents used to live in Huntington. Oh, nice. And so I went down to Huntington, stayed with them for the whole week to do peak week at their house. And it was going to be great because I had family there and it was just going to be fun. My daughter, you know, and peak week started Saturday. Well, for some reason, I decided to binge on Saturday. And then I was going to take Saturday night off from the gym, and I was super bloated. I remember, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to the gym. It was at I think I went to the gym at 11:30 at night. I could barely do any of the workout because my stomach was so bloated. So I sat in the sauna for a good 45 minutes to sweat. Got out. The only workouts I could do were seated lat pull downs. I could barely do seated rows. I could do some tricep movements, and then I was back on the treadmill. I couldn't walk on the treadmill faster then I'm sorry, I couldn't walk on the treadmill higher than a 10 incline and 2.5 speed because my stomach was so bloated. The crazy part about that is that process, because after that I went and sat in the sauna again for like 30 minutes. And so the funny thing about that is from the time that I got to the gym, the time I left, I lost 11 pounds of water. I had just sweat that much because I worked out in a hoodie and sweats. I mean, like beanie. I mean, I was like sweating. Crazy part is I woke up the next day and I looked insane. I was like super shredded, but I was like full because the carbs had hit me.
Right,
I was super vascular, and I was like, holy crap, I look awesome.
Body fat. I mean, your metabolism, I imagine, was cranking then, which worked out for you.
Yeah, but then I binged again that night, and then I binged again the next night, and you know, I for some reason I was making excuses, and I was like, okay, you know, I binged Saturday. I binged Sunday, I binged Monday. Now I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to really wrap it up and like no carb it, and then I can carb up on Friday. And you know, the crazy part is like I ended up beating some like really good dudes in that show, guys that were Olympians. You know, and it was crazy. You know, like even the judges were like, "Wow, you looked awesome today." Blah 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 blah. Like we really thought you were better than this guy. That's why we moved you up. And I was like, "Wow, thank you." You know. But the crazy, I wasn't close to my best at all. I mean, my conditioning did not look what I wanted it to be. I definitely felt bloated and uncomfortable in my stomach the whole time. And it was because of the food that I ate, you know. And I even screwed up Friday night before the show. Like I messed up and ate shit that I shouldn't have eaten, and drank water when I shouldn't have drank it. And you know, thankfully, I was in a good position athletically and physically that like it didn't hurt too bad. But you know, like. I was not even close to my best.
It made an impact enough that you like remember it specifically.
100%.
That you look back, and we talk about leaving it all out there and like knowing that you left it all out there, and it sounds like you're like, I didn't leave it all out there that time.
No. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm happy with the placement and how they placed me over certain guys, and that made me feel good. But then I was like, dude, what if I would what if I would have actually been my best? That's the part that gets me every time. And I'm like, what if I would have been my best here? Who knows where I would have landed at that point, you know? So that's the part that really sticks in my head, you know? So that's like, you know, that's again, going back to what keeps you motivated, what keeps you disciplined. And it's knowing that those moments, like at my level, they just can't happen. Yeah. And realistically, like when you're trying to get to my level, it shouldn't happen either. You know, we talk about like, you got to become a pro. You got to have the mindset of a pro before you become a pro.
That's right.
You know, and that's just the way that it is. You know, like, again, dress for the job that you want to have, not just physically, but mentally, you know.
Ooh, that might be the line of the day right there.
Sometimes I got some okay stuff to say.
All right, one last thing.
Yeah.
All right, so I call it's real talk rapid fire.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hit you with like 10 or 15 questions.
Oh, man.
You got to answer them off the top of your head. First thing that comes, nothing longer than a sentence. It's real fast.
Okay.
It's real easy stuff like, you know,
okay.
like cats and dogs. All right, I got a list of here. All right.
Okay.
How many pairs of shoes do you own?
Yikes. I'd probably say like 9.
What's your favorite exercise to do in the gym?
Come on, man. Lateral raises.
I know. Knights or Raiders?
Oh, dude. Raiders all day long.
Heard that. Are aliens real?
100% real.
Do you like your pizzas cut in squares or triangles?
That's a tough one, man. I think because I've just triangles.
All right. What's your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving, bro.
We were just talking about it. How do you take your coffee?
Sweet and delicious.
Oh, you're one of those guys. Is your coffee white?
No, not quite white, but it's funny because like every time me and my girl go to like a Starbucks or Dutch Brothers, I'll like create something there at the counter. I'll be like, yeah, make it this way and this way. And then she'll try and she'll be like, God, I want yours. So mine's just always like sweet and delicious.
All right, fair enough. I'm a black and bland.
You know, I tried. I can't, you know.
Favorite city?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Right off the top of my head, I am going to say Vegas. I really am.
Love it.
But, you know, my favorite state is probably Florida. I just don't have a favorite city.
All right, fair enough. Window seat or aisle seat?
Oh, aisle all day, bro. Come on,
What's
man.
up with these window people?
Like, bro, hey, I remember one time I was like arguing with somebody, not arguing, but I was like, I asked the lady, I was like, is there any way that we could like switch from the middle to an aisle seat? And she's like, it's a pretty full flight. And I was like, well, if anything comes up, can I please get an aisle seat? And she was like, yeah, I'll try. And I was like, I'm too wide to sit in the middle.
Right.
And this old lady goes, no, you're not. And I was like, bitch, do you see these shoulders?
Yeah. I have boulder shoulders over here.
I was like, come on now, like, am I not that? And I was like, I was questioning, I was like, am I not that wide?
Yeah, you're like, wait. You're getting dogged by an old lady, man.
It's funny because we're going back to Florida for my girl's birthday, and I was asking her when I was buying the tickets, I was like, hey, so you want a window seat, right? Because the whole aisle was full or open. And she's like, yeah, I want a window. And I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll take the middle, you know. And she was like, well, they're only selling like they're not selling the middle. I was like, no, they're selling the middle. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, get me a window seat if you can. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll take one for the team and take a middle seat. So,
the worst.
Whatever.
I hate it. I'm with you there. Where else am I? What else I got? I guess that's about it.
Okay.
So, tell everyone. Okay, so if anybody wants to get a hold of you, if they want to follow you on Instagram, if they want to get a hold of you for coaching, if they just want to, like, I would recommend just following Brandon just to follow him and see what he's doing every day. He also does some really cool. I call him Jeep rants. I don't know what he calls them, but it reminds me of that guy. Who's the guy? The Robert. You know, the guy who screams in his car all the time. On Facebook.
He's like a
bodybuilder and he's got a big beard.
He's like huge.
Yeah, like, whoa.
He is like into it, man.
But his like if you actually listen to the words that he's saying, it's actually very valuable. But it's just funny the way he screams. I'm always like, I know. I'm like, your rants kind of remind me of his without the screaming. I'm like, there's a ton of great content right here.
Yeah. It's something I enjoy to do. I mean, I do like to jump on and talk. If you guys haven't noticed, I talk a lot. It's like hard for me to get. It's like hard to get me to shut up, honestly. It's actually a running joke. When I met my girl and like her sister will probably be like offended when I say this, but it's more funny than anything. She's not really offended. She'll just be like, she still think it's funny. But I remember one of the things that she told me was like, or she said to my girlfriend, she was like, yeah, he talks a lot. So,
hey, it's better than not being the guy who never talks.
You know, like you can be the mute. Like if you want to, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if you've ever, I've tried to date some girls before that were like super quiet and they just never talked. And I'm like, all right, this is hella boring.
Sometimes I gotta tone myself down. I'm always like, oh wait, am I talking too much? Oh no.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Oh no.
That's how I feel. It's funny because I'll do the podcast thing too. And it's funny because like as the interviewer, you don't want to talk too much because you're having somebody come on to talk about them. So you're trying to play the balance. And that sometimes is hard for me.
Yeah, for us talkers.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, man. I know.
You did good, though.
Oh, I appreciate it. You do good, too. But tell everyone, like, if we want to get coaching, if they want to just follow you and see, you know, your epic stories you put up every single day. You have a podcast as well. Yep. Shout that out. Give people the whole spiel about everything.
So if you want to find me, one of the easiest ways to do it is get on Instagram. Search Brandon Robichaux _ IFBB Pro.
Spell Robichaux for him.
So Brandon Brandon, last name Robichaux ROBICHAUX, and then _ IFBB Pro.
Or just like comment and be like, what's his Instagram, and it'll actually be in the description. We'll comment back.
The other way to get to reach me, there's a couple different ways. You know, on my Instagram, you can always email me there. The other thing you can do is I have a link tree, link in the bio. You can click there. That'll take you to a couple different things. I've got like my podcast on there, the Relentless Revolution podcast. You can, I think there's links for Spotify and iTunes there. There's also a YouTube link there because I do the video podcast also. There's also a Typeform athlete questionnaire application that you can go in and fill out if you're looking for coaching, or I think the bottom link is my website. My website is relentlessrevolution.net. You can go there. There's also a link to fill out a athlete questionnaire if you're interested in coaching there as well.
So a good first step is not to ask you how much, but to go fill out that questionnaire first.
Good first step would be to just reach out to me, tell me you're looking for coaching. We can get into cost and all that stuff. The big thing for me is, you know, and I always tell people, like, if this is something that you truly want to do, we'll get past cost. Cost is, it's one of those things that like everybody's been affected by COVID. There are tons of people who are struggling, right? And so I recognize that. So one of the things I'm like very like I'm proud of is that like while I do feel like I charge what I'm worth or just below that because I try to stay equivalent to the market, and I'm still a lot cheaper than the industry standard. I believe industry standard for coaching for what I do is like $1,300 for like 12 weeks. So, and I'm less than that. And so, but that's what a lot of coaches charge. But still, people still go, "Wow, you charge a lot of money." Well, of course, like I charge what I feel like is fair. What I feel like is fair for me, and what I feel like is worth it.
But compared to an equivalent coach.
But yeah, and I mean, there are other coaches out there who are gonna charge a lot cheaper. And the way I look at it is like this: you pay for what you get for. You know, like you pay money for an iPhone because it's an iPhone. Right. I'm not saying I'm the iPhone, but I'm just saying
if you don't like it, don't come back. But I would care to venture that it won't be their first and last endeavor with you.
Not everybody, look, we're not the hero in everybody's book. So I'm not the best coach for everybody. I can admit that. But I have a slew of clients that I've helped. I've helped over 300 something people.
you post like a lot of like progress pictures of your clients and stuff all the time too. So if you guys want to see like kind of like the results that you do see,
that's even on my website too. Like,
oh, is it? Okay. But I know like when I'm flipping through Instagram a lot of times, like I'm always like, Jesus Christ, like, wow.
Yeah, I mean it's something I take pride in, man. I love helping people and seeing people get to what their best can be. It's fun for me when I have clients that are like, I literally have 2 clients that I was just talking to yesterday, and both of them saying the same exact things. Like, I did not anticipate this being like this. Like, I didn't think that I was going to get to what my goal is this quick, and the fact that I was going to make new goals to get to somewhere else. And they're just like, I didn't anticipate this. And I love that. I love that more than anything. Like, that to me is better than winning a show.
The synergy between a coach and an athlete is amazing when things come together.
100%.
It's like a father-son, mother-daughter relationship. Like,
totally.
It's unreal.
Yeah, when you're helping people reaching a goal that
they're blindly trusting you.
Bro, like, think about the times that, like, you had a fitness goal and it seemed so unobtainable, and then you finally reached it, how good that felt. You know what I mean? When you finally reach that goal of like, holy crap, dude, like I look pretty freaking good. And not only do I feel like I look pretty good, but other people around me are noticing that I look different and better.
And remember, just because they ain't telling you they're noticing, they're still noticing.
Oh,
so keep your head on it.
Yeah.
Haters and likers alike.
Yeah, exactly.
But make sure you're remember, there's people watching that aren't telling you a good job, that they are looking up to you, and be that guy.
Yeah, people will watch you and not give you credit because they're just haters. Most people that are haters are people that don't want to see you succeed further than them, and that's just part of the game. But that's the thing that I love about what I do, man. That makes, like, when I have people that message me and tell me thank you for everything you've provided, like what you do, it feels amazing. It stings when you have somebody that does really well with you, and then they leave and they don't say anything, and you're like, damn, like, all right, cool.
I saw the last thing. I saw the best meme the other day that kind of summarizes almost this whole conversation, and it was my biggest flex in life is me doing what I'm saying I'm going to do.
100%. Seriously, like that's what I like. How can you be trusted? That's the one thing that I pride myself is that if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I want to do it.
I had 3 podcast cancellations last week from people who were double, triple confirmed.
Yikes!
You showed up though.
Hey man,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm honored to be here.
You said you were going to be here, and I loved it. Like, and I in the back of my head, I was never worried about you because I was like, Brandon's one of those guys is like, Brandon could probably show up and like Cass is probably like, I just came from the hospital. I broke my arm, but like, let's do this real quick. Like he'd be like, I said I was going to be here, dude. Like, that's the one thing that I'm just like you in that regard. It's like I can't stand when people say they're going to do something and they don't follow through. Yeah. I mean, I've even had clients where I'm like, dude, if we can't figure you out, like, I'm going to help you out for free
because I'm not. That isn't an advertisement. I'm not saying that's the deal. But what I'm saying is I've done that with people where I'm like straight up like, hey.
I'm like dying. I can just see that getting clipped.
I know. Somebody's like,
Brandon, I found this in your podcast. This is for free.
Yeah, exactly. But I have done that for people.
That's cool.
Where I'm like, I feel I'm gonna help you for free.
It's my job to figure this out. And you're doing your thing, and that's awesome.
But I haven't had to do that for a very long time. I mean, I've gotten to a point now where like I can pretty much tell if they're not getting results, they're either cheating and they're not being honest about something, or it's a hormonal problem, something like that.
And I mean, you're probably much more versed in this than I am, but I would personally guess that 75% of the time someone thinks it's a hormone problem, it never is. It
depends, man. I mean, to be honest, there are a lot of as I've done more research and read more things and even experimented with my own blood work and figuring things out with myself. There are a lot of hormonal issues that are out there, especially with women, that are on birth control. That because they're taking combination pills where they're getting testosterone and estrogen both put into their body and it's to regulate things, but none of those hormones are stable. And right. So like there are all kinds of issues that can be going on there. And women that are constantly doing this yo-yo dieting, taking different supplements, different fat burners, like they can mess up their thyroid and there's all kinds of things that go wrong. What I can say, the biggest culprit usually is the fact they're just cheating.
Yeah.
And what I will say this is I always ask this question, like when I feel like there's progress that's not coming through, one of the questions I ask is say, hey, when you're packing your meals, how much food are you nibbling on? Like, are you nibbling while you're packing? Because if you're putting in 6 ounces of chicken or 4 ounces of chicken, but you've nibbled on 2 while you're packing it in there,
that's a 30% increase.
100%. So, and if you do that twice a day, that's
a 60% increase.
Okay, so I mean, and that stuff adds up. And when you look at things, because really and truly, it's not about a daily caloric; it's about a weekly caloric value. So if you do that all week long, how much extra have you eaten? This is why your progress is stalling. And so that's the thing. If you're not being honest with your coach about that, then we have no idea how to coach you.
There's what 3,500 calories in a pound. Mm-hmm. If you're fudging up, if you're trying to lose a pound a week and you're fudging on 300 calories a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do the math.
That means you're only saving. You're only in a deficit by 50. 50 times 7 means you only got 350 calories in a deficit. You still need 3,250 calories to go or something like that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's just one of those things. It's like you're really going to hinder yourself in your progress. And so, and you got to be honest with your coach. And that's the hard part is a lot of people don't want to be honest. They think that they can do things on their own. They're like, well, I ate this much today, so I'm just going to back off on this today. I'm not going to eat this, or I'm going to cut my carbs. And it's like, if this is what you're going to do,
don't.
You're taking the coaching aspect away, and why are you paying for this?
Why?
Yeah. So be 100% honest with your coach is the best advice I can give.
So when you guys all go to Brandon's page, you guys go to follow him. You guys, after you guys hit the like and subscribe button, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, make sure you hit the subscribe button there too. But when you go to Brandon's page and you guys like and subscribe, make sure you guys fill out his questionnaire. You guys are super honest, and in the entire process, you're super honest. And honestly, that goes whether you're using Brandon or anybody, because nobody can help you. You're only lying to yourself.
Yep.
Your coach is still making money, and you're still going to not get results.
Well, and here's the thing: the point you just made. I have no desire to work with people that aren't going to be honest. Like zero. I don't even want your money at that point. Like I really don't. I don't want people that want to come and work with me and only do half-ass work. Like I ask people all the time through my interview process. I'd say one of the last questions I ask is, how important is this to you and why? Because I want to know. Because here's the thing, your goal is extremely important to me for multiple reasons. One, I do want to help you. I want to see you happy. I love getting the messages that say, oh my God, I'm so glad I contacted you. I love that message. And I get that all the time. But also, I'm trying to build a brand and a business.
It's a direct reflection of you.
It's a complete direct reflection of me. And how I built my business is by doing right by my clients, helping them to the point where they are word of mouth. They are my advertising. That's free for me. I don't got to pay for that.
Next thing you know, you got some guy saying Brandon's coaching sucks and doesn't work, and you're like, but you didn't do it.
Exactly. And so you are a direct reflection of me, and you're also how I'm going to make more money, how I'm going to build my brand, how I'm going to get more clientele. Eventually, essentially giving me a better quality of life also. So there is that selfish aspect of it, but every business owner has that, right? But ultimately, as a business owner, as a coach, what I do, the gratitude I get for helping people is the ultimate. I love that, right? And if people aren't honest in the process and all of that, then we're really just, both of us are spinning our wheels. And I have no desire to just be like, cool, I'll charge you full price for 3 months, and then you'll barely check in and you'll barely do anything, and then you'll go about your merry way after you. I literally have zero desire to work with that person. I don't even want their money.
Like I don't know if you guys want like a more straightforward coach. Like I don't know if the guy literally said don't hire him unless you really want to hire him.
Yeah, I'm not in the business. I mean, like, how many times do you know somebody that goes and buys something? Like, for example, you have this gimbal camera, right?
Yep.
Okay, I have a camera, I have my phone, right? And I bought one of those like smooth gimbals, right?
Yeah. So you have a gimbal, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Sweet, yeah.
Paid $150 for it.
Yep.
It's sitting in the box. I don't even use it.
Yeah.
At all. That's the same thing, right? Somebody that buys my coaching and does nothing with it.
Yeah.
I don't even want that person's money.
Yeah.
I don't. I would be more likely to give back to them and say, "Here, take this. I don't want it. Have a good life." And that's just how I feel about it, because I'm not. Yes, I want to make good money and I want to do well, but it's about creating
sustainability,
a culture, a brand, a perception. Right? There's that level of how people perceive you.
But you obviously do this because you're passionate. You don't want to go work a 9 to 5 because that's dumb. Like you want to get some enjoyment out of your life and some real substance.
Your goal cannot be more important to me than it is to you, and that's something I tell people through the interview process. Like, your goal cannot be more. If your goal is more important to me, then we aren't going to work well together. I used to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about this? And if people said an 8, I said, okay, come back to me when you're above an 8.
Wow.
Legit. I would legit say, when you're above an 8, let me know. I only work with people at an 8.5 or and above.
I mean, do you guys want to get coached by someone who would literally tell you he won't coach you? But because he doesn't think you're are serious enough about it. That's awesome.
It's not about look, man, any coach can take an elite athlete and make them great.
Sure.
Okay. But you take somebody who is not necessarily elite and you make them great. That's a good coach. Somebody who actually really cares about you and your goals. Okay? Because it does take a lot of work. There is a lot of that goes into it. We are paying attention to every little thing that you're doing. And when we see the progress, because everybody's progress is different, but you can always tell who's the most serious about their progress, because their progress, it comes through every single week.
It tells a story.
It does.
Yeah.
I told you, my guy Andrew in Idaho, man, every time we start working together, within 3 weeks, he looks like he's done a 7-week prep already. He looks like he's 7 weeks in already. And so when I get guys that get with me and they were with me for 8 weeks and they look like they've only had 2 or 3 weeks of progress, I'm like, yeah, I can tell it's not that serious for you. You're not working hard in the gym. You're not training hard. You're not pushing yourself, and you're definitely not sticking to the diet. I'm not it's just when you're a kid, your parents aren't dumb. They know when you're fucking around. When I was younger, I remember I came home with my friends one time, and I know my mom could smell the weed on me. I look back at that and I'm like, why am I stupid? Why did I think my mom couldn't smell that? She could see my eyes were bloodshot. We just smoked. I know. I look back at that and I'm like, I was so dumb. Because my mom comes in, she's like, "You been smoking pot?" I'm like, "No." No.
Dude, turn Bob Marley back up.
Exactly. You know, and I just went right back to playing video games, and she shut the door. My mom knew. Yeah. My mom and I had a conversation about that a couple months ago, and she's like, yeah, of course I knew. You know? But I mean, like, you know, it's like it's the same thing. Like, me as a coach, like, I've been doing this too long. I know when people aren't sticking to a diet. I can see it and I can tell. Don't get me wrong. Some people just don't have the same progress, and they do stick to it. And sometimes that is a hormonal thing. It could be a metabolic thing. It could be a lot of different things, you know. Sometimes it's just stress, cortisol. You know, it just depends on the person, you know. But, you know, we try to create, again, that's why I ask questions like, you know, how are you doing mentally? And, you know, that way it's, you know, it's not just, we're not just coaching you on a fitness aspect. We're coaching you on a mental aspect. We're trying to change your whole mentality. You know, it is a true lifestyle change because we're trying to change your mentality of, you know, staying away from that fear that we all are going to fail when we get into it. Because we all had that when we first get into fitness. We're like, oh, what if I don't get to this level? What if I can't have that physique that I want? What if I never get to that? What if it's too hard? What if it's too much work? All these what ifs and all these fears. And that's where I come in, is I try to give you a different mentality. I mean, I have people all the time that will struggle, and I'll be like, hey, let's get on a phone call. Let's talk. Let's get into like a mental conversation and talk about where you're at mentally, and let's talk about where we want to be, how we're going to get there. And it's not even about fitness at that point. It's not about the diet. Right. It's about the mental and correcting that aspect. So it's not just coaching someone from a physical and fitness aspect.
Well, I mean, you guys, I mean, I don't know, like, what else. I mean, he's going to coach you physically, he's going to coach you mentally, if you even, like, really want to be coached, because he's only going to coach you if you really want. Yeah. So make sure you guys go follow him, check out all of his pages, like, hit him up, send him a DM, and at least get the conversation started. Shoot him a DM and just say, what's up? I'm interested in your services. Here are my goals.
Love it.
Right on, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you so much. I ask every person that comes on here, after 100 episodes, I want you to come back. And we'll check back in, and I'd like to hear about. We want to hear about where the mentorship program is going, and and if there's any updates in that, we'll share with you guys along the way. And we'll see you in 100 episodes, man.
Awesome. I'm down.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man.